The first picture in my family tribute was of Lorna and Grant Bell standing on a beach in matching white shirts. Not me. Grant had one hand on his straw hat, and Lorna was laughing into the wind with the kind of open-mouthed joy she usually disliked in photographs. Behind them, the ocean was bright enough to make half the ballroom squint. My son's recorded voice came through the hotel speakers. Family isn't just where you come from, it's the people who stand beside you through every season. Beside me, Denise Holloway stopped chewing her dinner roll. The photograph dissolved into another one of Aaron with his arm around Grant at a football game. Then Paige and Lorna lifting glasses in a restaurant. Then all four of them in front of a rented mountain house I had never visited. I waited for myself to appear. After all, it was my retirement party. I had spent 38 years working in that hotel, and Aaron had titled the video, "A Life Built Around Family." He had asked me for photographs. I had scanned them, labeled them, even put them in chronological order because Aaron believed computers turned his mother into a confused pioneer woman. Yet the family on the screen belonged entirely to his wife. Denise leaned close enough that her perfume cut through the smell of prime rib. "Linda," she whispered, "where are you?" That was the question, wasn't it? 3 weeks earlier, Aaron had shown up at my house with a scanner, 2 coffees, and the confidence of a man who had already decided how my memories should look. He set the scanner on my dining room table and pushed 1 coffee toward me. The label said, "Oat milk, 2 pumps vanilla." "This one's Paige's," I said. He looked at both cups. "Shoot, you got me the sweet one." "You don't like vanilla? I've been drinking black coffee since Carter was president." He switched them and kissed my forehead. "Good thing I'm making a tribute while you're still here to correct the historical record." That was Aaron. He could make me laugh while irritating me so precisely it felt custom-made. I had laid out 3 shoeboxes of photographs. He looked at them, then at me. "Mom, when I said find a few, I meant maybe 20. These are a few. There are enough pictures here to document the decline of wallpaper in North America." I picked up one of him in his first apartment, sitting on the floor with a plate balanced on a cardboard box. That wallpaper came with the place. It looked contagious. You lived there 2 years, 1 year and 11 months, and came home every time you needed to do laundry. I had a very limited relationship with that washing machine. You had a very limited relationship with quarters. He smiled and took the photograph from me. His teasing always carried a little tenderness, which was why I rarely noticed when the tenderness was being used to move me along. He scanned pictures while I told him dates. There was Aaron at 22, grinning beside a used car whose driver's door had to be lifted before it would close. Aaron and Paige at their rehearsal dinner. My husband Frank standing at the grill 6 months before the heart attack that killed him. Sunday dinners with too many serving dishes and never enough room for everybody's elbows. Aaron grew quiet when he saw the ones with Frank. "You don't have to use those," I said. "No, I want Dad in it." He scanned 3, skipping one where Frank's suspenders had slipped off his shoulder. "That's the best one. He looks half-dressed. He was cooking in his own backyard. He looks like he lost a fight with his pants." He did. I was there. Aaron laughed, but he put that picture aside instead of scanning it. I should have noticed. At the party, the screen changed to a photograph from Christmas at my house. I recognized my red curtains and the ceramic angel on the mantel with the chipped wing. Grant and Lorna sat on my couch opening the cashmere throw Paige had given them. Aaron was crouched beside the tree, handing Grant another package. I had taken the picture. Earlier that day, I had stood in the same room for 6 hours making dinner. I remembered Lorna following me into the kitchen with a glass of wine and offering to help while keeping both hands wrapped around the stem. "Put me to work," she'd said. "Peel those potatoes." I was thinking something less structural, so I gave her napkins to fold. She turned each one into a fan and arranged them on the plates. They looked beautiful. By dinner, everyone had complimented the napkins and asked me for the ham recipe. I had not minded then. In the ballroom, Aaron's voice continued over the picture. "Some people make a house feel like home simply by walking through the door." A laugh rose from one of the Bell relatives. Not a mean laugh, a pleased one. I glanced across the table. Lorna was watching the screen with her head tilted. The colored light made her silver earrings flash. Grant sat beside her, smiling mildly, one thumb hooked under the edge of his napkin. Paige caught my eye. For half a second, her smile changed. It did not disappear. It tightened, as if she had bitten down on something hard. Then another photograph appeared, and she turned back to the screen. I had liked Paige from the beginning, which people sometimes found disappointing. They seemed to prefer a story where a mother and daughter-in-law met over a roast chicken and immediately recognized their natural enemy. Paige had never been my enemy. She was organized, funny when she forgot to be careful, and terrible at pretending to enjoy food she disliked. The first time I served Brussels sprouts, she ate 4 with the solemn courage of someone disposing of evidence. "You can leave those," I had told her. "I like them. You've been chewing the same one since Aaron got up for water." She swallowed and said, "I want us to have a good relationship. We can have a good relationship without you suffering through Brussels sprouts." That had been 12 years ago. I had not made them for her since. Now she sat beneath gold balloons that spelled "Happy Retirement," watching her parents fill the tribute to my life. The next picture showed Aaron and Grant on a fishing dock. Grant hated fishing. He had told me so himself. Too much waiting, he'd said. If I wanted to spend 4 hours being ignored, I'd call the cable company. But the picture made them look peaceful and close. Grant had one hand on Aaron's shoulder. A silver fish flashed between them. I remembered that weekend because Aaron had called me from the rental house to ask how long chicken could sit out before it became dangerous. "How long has it been out?" I asked. Hypothetically, Aaron, 3 hours? Throw it away. Grant says it smells fine. Grant once ate shrimp from a gas station. He said it was a travel plaza. Throw the chicken away. The next morning, Paige called for my pancake recipe. That weekend appeared on the screen as proof of a family tradition. I had been present only as a voice coming through a phone in someone else's kitchen. Denise put her roll on her plate. "Maybe you're in the second half," she whispered. "Maybe." We were 4 minutes into a 7-minute video. I knew the exact length because Aaron had announced it before dimming the lights. 7 minutes, he'd said, standing near the projector with one hand in his pocket. "Mom, I know sitting still while people say nice things about you is your personal nightmare, but you can survive 7 minutes. Depends what they say. That you're punctual, bossy, and impossible to buy gifts for. Then make it 3 minutes." The room laughed. Aaron looked pleased. He'd always known how to use me in a joke without making me feel like the joke. He looked handsome that night in a navy jacket Paige had probably chosen. At 41, he still rubbed the side of his thumb when he was nervous, a habit he seemed to think no one remembered. I saw him doing it beside the projector. I had thought he was worried about the technology. Now another photograph appeared. Lorna and Paige arranging flowers in the Bell's dining room. Then Aaron and Grant carving a turkey. Then the 4 of them raising champagne glasses beneath a paper banner that said "Family Weekend." The music underneath the narration swelled. "These are the people who showed us how love becomes a life," Aaron said through the speakers. "The people who kept showing up. Something small and hot moved through my chest. Not rage. Rage would have been cleaner." At the table behind me, one of the younger banquet servers whispered, "Is that her son's other mom?" Her supervisor shushed her. I stared at the screen. There had been a photograph in the shoebox of Aaron asleep in a chair beside Frank's hospital bed. I was standing behind him with both hands on his shoulders. Another showed the 3 of us at Paige's birthday dinner, 2 weeks before Frank died. My hair was flattened from rain, and Frank had closed his eyes just as the camera flashed. It was not a beautiful picture, but it was true. Aaron had scanned that one. I had watched him do it. There had been pictures of my retirement dinner with the banquet staff, Sunday meals, Frank's last anniversary, Aaron's first promotion, and the afternoon Paige helped me repaint the hallway and put a blue handprint on the ceiling. None had appeared. The tribute moved to a photograph of Lorna pinning a flower to Aaron's jacket at some Bell family wedding. He was looking down at her with an expression so soft it hurt to see. I wondered if the pain would have been smaller if he had looked unhappy. Beside the projector, the real Aaron smiled at the screen. Then he looked at me, perhaps expecting me to smile back. I did. It was automatic. The same smile I had used for angry wedding guests, drunk groomsmen, and a woman who once blamed me because an ice sculpture of 2 swans looked emotionally distant. Aaron relaxed. That hurt more. The final sequence began with photographs from my hotel years. There I was at 29, wearing a burgundy vest and a name tag large enough to be read from space. Then a group of banquet employees gathered around a sheet cake. Then me holding an Employee of the Year plaque while Frank stood beside me. At last, I thought. But Frank disappeared in the transition, and the picture cropped tighter until only my uniformed body remained. Aaron's voice softened. And now, after 38 years of taking care of everyone else, it's finally Linda's turn to rest. The screen went black. For one beat, the ballroom stayed silent. Then everyone applauded. Denise did not. She kept her hand over mine beneath the tablecloth. Aaron crossed the room toward me, smiling, arms already open. Chairs scraped as people stood. Lorna dabbed the corner of one eye. Grant raised his champagne glass. Paige clapped with both hands held close to her chest. My son bent down and kissed my cheek. "Surprise," he said. I could smell his aftershave. The same cedar one I gave him every Christmas because he claimed buying it for himself would ruin the tradition. "That was something," I said. He pulled back, still smiling, but his eyes searched my face. "You liked it?" Before I could answer, the hotel manager rolled out the cake and everybody began singing. I stood beneath the gold balloons while 60 people sang my name, and the screen behind them remained black. I cut the first slice. I thanked the kitchen. I posed with Lorna and Grant because somebody called us the proud parents. I laughed when Grant got frosting on his cuff. I accepted compliments from people who had apparently watched a different tribute than I had. When the ballroom began to empty, I saw Aaron carrying projector cables through the service door. I followed him into the hallway. He turned when he heard my shoes. "Mom, you need something?" "Yes," I said. "I need to know what happened to my pictures." Aaron shifted the cables into one hand. "What pictures?" "The ones you scanned at my house." "Oh." He glanced toward the ballroom doors. "They're all saved. I didn't lose anything. I didn't ask if you lost them." A server pushed through the doors carrying a bus tub full of champagne glasses. Aaron stepped aside and waited until she passed. The hallway smelled like coffee grounds and the lemon cleaner housekeeping used on the brass rails. "Can we not do this right here?" he asked. "You asked what I needed." "Yes, but I thought you meant your purse or one of the gifts." "My purse is under my chair. The gifts are in Paige's car." "Where were my pictures?" He let out a breath through his nose. "You were in the video. I was in my employee portrait. And the staff pictures. One staff picture. Your father was cropped out of it. He wasn't cropped out on purpose. The photograph was landscape and the video format. Aaron." He stopped. His thumb moved against the side of his index finger. I hated that I noticed. I hated that some part of me wanted to take the cables from him because they looked awkward and he had never learned how to coil them properly. "The whole thing was for you," he said. "It would have been weird to have you in every picture. It was called A Life Built Around Family." "Right. The family was talking about you. The family wasn't talking. You were. It was my tribute to my life." "Yes, and I wasn't in it." He looked past me at the ballroom again, checking who might be close enough to hear. That told me more than anything he had said. "You're taking the concept too literally," he said. I almost laughed. "The concept. You know what I mean. I truly don't. The point was to show the people celebrating you, the people who are here because of you. Then why was it mostly Paige's parents? It wasn't mostly them. It was mostly them, Aaron. There were pictures of Paige, standing beside her parents, and me, standing beside her parents. Okay, because we do things together. Those are the photographs we have. I gave you photographs. His jaw tightened. They didn't all work. How did they not work? Some were blurry, some were old. All photographs get old. That's what happens when you don't throw them away. I'm trying to explain this, and you're waiting to jump on every word. I'm waiting for you to say one that makes sense. The ballroom door opened again, and Paige came into the hall carrying my purse. Her long, dark green dress made a soft brushing noise around her ankles. She looked from Aaron to me, then down at the cables. "There you are," she said. "Denise said you came back here." "I'm right here," I said. Paige handed me the purse. "Are you okay?" Aaron answered before I could. "She's upset about the video. I didn't say I was upset. You followed me into a service hallway." I asked where my photographs were. Paige's fingers tightened around the little gold chain on her handbag. "Oh," she said. "Not what photographs? Just, oh." I looked at her. "You knew. I knew there were other pictures." "Paige made the video," Aaron said. "So if we're assigning blame now, I assembled it," she said quickly. "You picked the folder." They stared at each other. Aaron lowered his voice. "The folder had the best images. It had the images you selected, because you told me you were already behind schedule. I asked you 3 times if your mother wanted more family history in it, and I said no because she hates making a fuss over herself. You two understand that I'm standing here, don't you?" Paige shut her eyes for a second. "I'm sorry, Linda." Aaron made a frustrated sound. "For God's sake, nobody did anything to her. I didn't say anybody did anything to me. You're acting like we intentionally erased you. Did you intentionally leave out the photographs I gave you? It wasn't personal." That sentence landed so softly I nearly missed its weight. Everything about the tribute had been personal. My name, my workplace, my husband, my retirement, my family. But the choice to remove me was somehow not. Grant came through the doors holding a paper plate covered with a folded napkin. "There's the guest of honor," he said. "I saved you a piece with a flower. Lorna said the flowers are mostly shortening, but I've decided not to receive medical advice from a woman who puts butter on crackers." Nobody answered. He looked at Aaron, then Paige, then me. "I have entered a weather system." "We're fine," Aaron said. "People only say that in hallways when they are absolutely not fine." "Grant," Paige said. "All right." He held the plate out to me. "Cake? Thank you." He released it carefully into my hands. The frosting rose in a stiff yellow rose at one corner. "Your people know how to make a cake," he said. "Lorna has already asked if they do anniversaries. I told her most hotels are willing to celebrate anything if you pay the deposit." That was pure Grant. Kindness disguised as mild foolishness, so nobody had to admit they needed rescuing. "Dad, can you give us a minute?" Paige asked. He nodded. Before turning away, he touched my elbow. "It was a lovely party, Linda. The party was lovely." His eyes rested on my face a moment longer. Then he went back into the ballroom. Aaron watched him leave. "See, this is exactly why I didn't want to do this here. You think Grant knows we're arguing because I asked one question? I think people notice your face." "What is my face doing?" "Mom." "No, tell me." I smiled through the video. I cut the cake. I posed for pictures. What else was my face supposed to do? Paige looked at Aaron. "Maybe we should talk tomorrow." "There's nothing to talk about tomorrow," he said. "She asked why I didn't use the old pictures." "I'm explaining why. You haven't explained it." He set the cables on a linen cart with more force than necessary. Fine. Some of them were depressing. The hallway went quiet. Even the hotel seemed to pause around us. From inside the ballroom came the faint clink of silverware being sorted into racks. "Which ones?" I asked. "The apartment pictures. Dad in the hospital. That old car. The Christmas where everybody's sitting on folding chairs. Half the clothes looked like they came from a thrift store. Some of them did." "I know." He rubbed a hand over his mouth. "I wanted it to feel warm," he said. "Celebratory. Not like a documentary about everything we survived. The photograph of your father grilling was warm. He looked sick. He was not sick then. He looked tired. He was tired. He had worked that morning. That's what I mean. What do you mean? He glanced at Paige, but she offered him nothing. I didn't want the whole thing to be about struggle, he said. You always talk about those years like the hardship proves how much we loved each other. I talk about those years because we lived them, and I didn't want to live them again in front of 60 people. There it was. Not all of it, but enough to change the air. I looked at the man in front of me and saw, for one strange second, the young Aaron who used to turn off the lights before his friends came over because the water stain on the ceiling showed less in the dark. I had thought he was embarrassed by the apartment. I had not understood that he might have been embarrassed by being the person who came from it. Then why ask me for pictures? I said. Because I thought there'd be more good ones. Paige flinched. Aaron heard himself a second too late. That's not what I meant. No? I mean good quality. Clear, recent, the Bells' photographs. They take a lot of pictures. They travel. They have good cameras. And they look like the family you wanted on the screen. I wanted something people could enjoy. People might not have enjoyed seeing your father. Don't do that. Do what? Make it sound crueler than it was. I looked down at the slice of cake Grant had saved for me. The yellow frosting flour had tipped onto its side. Paige stepped closer. Linda, I should have called you. I thought the video needed more of you, and I let Aaron convince me that you would prefer being represented by everyone else. That was a mistake. You thought it needed more of me? Yes. How much of me was in the version you first made? She glanced at Aaron. Paige, he warned. How much? 4 pictures. The answer surprised a laugh out of me. It sounded sharp and wrong in the narrow hall. 4. There were more staff photographs, one with Frank, and the picture of all of us at your anniversary dinner. What happened to them? Aaron picked up the cables again. The pacing dragged. I nodded. The pacing. Mom, I spent days on that video, and I spent 38 years on the life. His face changed then. The defensiveness cracked, and for a moment he looked hurt enough that I nearly apologized. That was an old reflex between us. Aaron felt something, and I rushed to make sure he did not have to feel it alone. He recovered before I could. I was trying to do something nice for you. I believe you. No, you don't. I believe you wanted it to be nice. I'm asking who you wanted it to be nice for. He looked toward the ballroom, where the last guests were collecting coats. Please don't turn this into a whole public grievance, he said. People didn't need the whole struggle story tonight. I held his gaze. No, I said. Apparently they didn't need me either. I walked back into the ballroom before he could answer. Denise was waiting by my chair with my coat over one arm. She took one look at me and did not ask what happened. Your left earring is crooked, she said. It's been crooked since 1989. No, the other one. She fixed it, then helped me into my coat as if I were any other tired guest leaving any other party. Lorna stood by the gift table directing Grant, while he tried to fit flower arrangements into the back seat of their car. She kissed my cheek and said we would have lunch soon. Her voice was warm, but her eyes moved past me toward the hallway. Paige carried my gifts to her car. Aaron came out 5 minutes later, the cables packed away and his expression reset. He offered to drive me home. Denise is taking me. You didn't tell me that. I'm telling you now. He put his hands in his pockets. Are you going to answer when I call tomorrow? I usually answer when you call. That's not what I asked. Denise opened the passenger door for me. Good night, Aaron. At home, she carried the gifts inside and set them beneath the framed photograph of Frank in the living room. You want me to stay? She asked. No. That sounded convincing. I have cake. You've had cake since 8 o'clock and haven't taken a bite. I looked down. I was still holding Grant's paper plate. I'll call you tomorrow, I said, before noon. Bossy, retired. I can say whatever I want now. After she left, I set the cake on the kitchen counter. My dining room table was empty except for the 3 photograph boxes Aaron had never taken. I opened the first one and found the picture of him beside that broken-down car. At 9 the next morning, my phone rang. Aaron's name filled the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Morning, Mom," he said carefully. "Morning." A pause. Then his voice brightened with practiced normalcy. "Listen, Lorna's anniversary dinner is coming up, and Paige thought maybe you could make your potatoes and that lemon chicken everybody likes." I looked at the boxes on my table. "No," I said. The silence on his end was so complete I could hear him breathing. "No, you can't?" "No, I won't." "What does that mean?" he asked. "It means I'm not cooking for Lorna's anniversary, but you always make the potatoes. Then this is an opportunity for somebody else to learn. Is this because of last night? This is because you called me the morning after my retirement party and asked me to cook for somebody else's celebration. I didn't ask you to cater the thing. It's 2 dishes. Then you should have no trouble making them." He sighed. "I was calling to check on you." "No, you were calling about chicken. I can do both. You could have done the first part before the second." There was a pause. I pictured him in his kitchen, probably leaning against the counter with his phone tucked between his shoulder and ear. On Sunday mornings, he made eggs in the same scratch skillet I had given him when he moved into his first apartment. Paige had bought him a nice set years later, but he said the old one heated better. He could preserve a pan with more tenderness than a memory. "All right," he said, "how are you? I'm not discussing that now, so there's no right answer." There was. "You skipped it. Mom, I'm trying." "You've been trying for 12 seconds. What do you want me to say?" I looked at the photograph boxes. "I want you to stop talking until you know." He made a short, disbelieving sound. "Okay." Wow. I could have ended the call. Instead, I heard myself say, "I'm taking 3 months." 3 months for what? For myself. "You're retired. Isn't that what retirement is?" "I don't know yet. I've been retired less than a day. What does 3 months mean? It means no first Sunday dinners, no waiting at your house for repairmen, no picking up things you forgot, no emergency side dishes." "Emergency side dishes? That's what you're asking for. The anniversary is in 2 weeks. Then it's not an emergency. You have time. You're canceling family dinners for 3 months because of a slideshow." I closed my eyes. "No. I'm changing an arrangement that let you confuse being taken care of with having a relationship. Oh, come on. If you want to see me, invite me to see you. If you need help, ask instead of wrapping the request in a conversation about how I'm doing. I do ask. You announce a problem and wait. That's not fair. Last month you told me your dry cleaning closed at 6 because I was stuck at work. You never asked me to pick it up. You offered. After you told me 4 times that the suit was for an important dinner. I didn't manipulate you into getting my suit. I didn't say you sat down and planned it. I said this is how we are and I don't want to be this way anymore." His voice went flat. "This doesn't sound like you." It was a simple sentence. He might as well have said, "The version of you I recognize would already have peeled the potatoes." "Maybe you haven't needed to know that much about me," I said. He went quiet. I regretted it immediately. Not because it was untrue, but because truth can still be used carelessly. I wanted him to understand me, not bleed because I had found the right place to press. Then he said, "I'm going to give you some time to calm down." The regret disappeared. How generous. I'm not doing this while you're angry. You are doing this while I'm angry. You just don't like my lines. I'll call later. Don't call about the chicken. He hung up first. I stayed at the table with the phone in my hand until the screen went dark. Then I made black coffee and drank it standing at the counter. The retirement flowers from the hotel were on the windowsill, too large for the blue ceramic pitcher I had put them in. 3 roses leaned away from the arrangement as if attempting an escape. At 10:30, Denise called. "You waited until 10:30, I said. "I've been exercising restraint. How are we?" "We've declared a 3-month suspension of poultry." "Good. Chicken has had too much influence for too long." I told her about the call. She listened without interrupting, which was not among her natural gifts. When I finished, she said, "You know what your problem is? I called you for comfort, and I'm about to comfort you with information. Your problem is that you've made yourself so useful, everybody thinks usefulness is your personality. I have other qualities. You're judgmental about centerpieces, because most centerpieces are too tall. You see? Delightful company. I smiled despite myself. Denise had worked beside me for 26 years, first as a banquet server, then captain, then the only person I trusted to tell a bride that a chocolate fountain could not be moved beside an electrical outlet with exposed wiring. She had retired 8 months before me and spent the first 2 weeks sending photographs of herself drinking coffee at 9 in the morning. "What are you doing today?" she asked. "I have thank you notes." "That's not an activity. That's penmanship. I have gifts to put away. Still not an activity. What do you want me to do? Go skydiving?" "No. You'd criticize the parachute folding. Come to the flea market. I don't need anything. That has never been a requirement." An hour later, I was walking beside her through an old warehouse that smelled of dust, cinnamon nuts, and somebody's ambitious candle business. Denise bought a lamp shaped like a pineapple. I told her it was ugly. She said retirement had released her from tasteful lighting. At a table covered with kitchenware, I picked up a yellow serving bowl with a thin brown line around the rim. "You have bowls," Denise said. "I know. You have more bowls than some restaurants." "I know." "Then put it down." I kept holding it. The bowl looked like something that belonged on a table where nobody cared whether the napkins matched. I bought it for $6. Denise did not mention Aaron again until we were eating hot pretzels on a bench near the exit. 3 months is specific, she said. "I know. Why 3? A month sounds like sulking. 6 months sounds like a hostage situation. And 3 months? Sounds like I thought about it. Did you?" "No." She tore off a piece of pretzel. Still might be the right number. When I got home, there were 2 messages from Aaron. The first said he hoped I enjoyed my day. The second asked if I had the number for the man who repaired my dishwasher. I texted him the number without comment. His reply came immediately. "See?" That wasn't hard. I stared at the words until they blurred, then turned my phone face down. For the first few days, retirement behaved like a long weekend. I slept past 7 and woke feeling guilty. I opened the hotel's scheduling program on my laptop before remembering I no longer had a password. I found myself calculating how many coffee urns they would need for a Thursday conference I had not planned. People had given me books about embracing the next chapter. They sat in a neat stack beside my bed, all with covers showing empty beaches and women in loose white shirts. None showed a woman checking her phone because her adult son had not called. Aaron did call on Wednesday. He talked about work for 9 minutes and did not ask me for anything. The effort was so visible it was almost tender. Before hanging up, he said, "Paige ordered food for Lorna's party. That sounds sensible. So you don't have to worry about it." "I wasn't worried. I'm just letting you know." "All right." And she found somebody who makes potatoes. Most people can make potatoes. These are the kind with the cream. Cream remains widely available. He laughed once, then stopped himself. "I miss when you were funny without trying to make a point," he said. "I miss when you laughed without deciding whether I deserved it." We said goodnight carefully. On Friday, my sister Ruth called from Philadelphia. She had retired from a medical billing office 2 years earlier and treated retirement as an athletic event she was determined to win. "I gave you 5 days," she said. "That's respectful. You sent me 9 messages. Messages don't count. You can ignore those with dignity." She asked how the party went. I looked at the 3 photograph boxes, still on the dining room table. It was beautiful. That pause was long enough to qualify for its own zip code. I told her. Ruth did not react the way Denise had. She went quiet, and Ruth's silences were rarely empty. "Aaron always hated anybody knowing he needed help," she said. "He was proud." "No." "Pride is when you don't ask," Aaron asked. "He just wanted everybody to forget afterward. That's harsh. So is putting Lorna in your Christmas picture when you were probably in the kitchen basting something. It was ham. Of course it was." I walked to the window. Across the street, my neighbor was trying to fit a cardboard box into a recycling bin without breaking it down. He pressed the lid on it twice as if the box might understand the warning. "Don't make him a villain," I said. I didn't. You sounded like you did. I said one true thing about him. If that's enough to turn him into a villain, that's his problem. I had spent years softening Ruth's opinions before they reached Aaron. She thought he was charming and spoiled. He thought she enjoyed delivering diagnoses nobody requested. They were both right often enough to be dangerous. "Come visit me," she said. "I just retired. That's generally when people are free. I have things here." "What things?" I looked around my silent living room. "My life. Bring it. We'll take the train to Baltimore for the day. We'll eat something overpriced near the harbor and complain about our feet. I'll think about it. That means no. Then why ask questions when you already know the answers? To give you a chance to surprise me." Sunday arrived with clear skies and the sharp, clean light of early fall. At 8 in the morning, I took a chicken out of the freezer. I set it in the sink and stood there looking at it. First Sunday dinner had survived Frank's death. Aaron's move across town, Paige's changing work schedule, 3 kitchen remodels between our houses, and the year everybody decided carbohydrates were a moral failure. Sometimes only the 3 of us came. Sometimes the table expanded to include Lorna, Grant, Ruth, or whoever was passing through. I had complained about the work and defended the tradition in the same breath. The chicken sat in the stainless steel sink, pale and accusing. I put it back in the freezer. At 11, Paige texted, "Thinking of you. No pressure, but we're free tonight if you want company." I typed, "Are you inviting me somewhere?" The 3 dots appeared, vanished, and appeared again. "We thought we might come by around 5. I looked at the empty yellow bowl from the flea market sitting in the center of my table. "I have plans," I wrote. That was not yet true. I called Denise. "What are you doing for dinner?" "Depends. Is this a social invitation or an emergency side dish?" "Social. Then come at 6. I'm making lasagna. I'll bring salad." "One thing," she said. "You are allowed to bring one thing." At 4:45, Aaron's car pulled into my driveway. He and Paige got out carrying a bakery box and a bottle of wine. I opened the front door before they could knock. Aaron smiled with visible relief. "See?" he said to Paige. "I told you she'd be home." I picked up my coat from the chair. "I am home," I said. "I'm just not staying." Paige stopped halfway up the walk. "I told him you said you had plans." "I know what she said," Aaron replied. "I thought she meant later. I said I was unavailable tonight. You didn't say where you were going. I didn't realize my plans required supporting documentation." He came onto the porch and held out the bakery box. "We brought that lemon tart you like. I do like it. And wine. I can see that. So we thought we'd sit down, have a normal evening, and not keep picking at this." Paige gave him a look. "That was not how you described the visit in the car. I said we should drop by. You said, once we're there, she'll be glad we came." Aaron's shoulders lifted beneath his jacket. "Was I supposed to assume my mother didn't want to see me?" "You were supposed to believe me," I said. He looked at the coat over my arm. "Where are you going?" "Denise's." "For what?" "Dinner." "You just saw Denise. I've seen you more recently than I've seen Denise. You know what I mean." "No, but I'm starting to think that saves time." Paige stepped around him and kissed my cheek. "We should have called," she said. "You did text. I should have listened to your answer." Aaron held the box between us. The bakery had tied it with a yellow string, and one corner of the cardboard was dark where butter had soaked through. "Take the tart," he said. "You bought it. Eat it. We bought it for you, then leave it in the refrigerator." His eyebrows rose. "So we can come inside? So the tart doesn't spoil?" He looked at Paige as if asking whether she had also heard the obvious flaw in my logic. I opened the door wider. "You can put it away. I have to leave in 5 minutes." They followed me into the kitchen. Aaron set the wine on the counter and opened the refrigerator. He stared inside longer than necessary. "You really didn't cook," he said. "What did you expect to find?" I didn't expect anything. "You opened the oven at Christmas when I told you dinner was canceled because the power had been out all morning. There was a chance. There was no power. You have a gas stove. The refrigerator was warm." "You see," Paige said. "This is why I told you she meant it." Aaron slid the tart onto the top shelf. I'm standing right here again, I said. He closed the refrigerator. I'm trying to respect the 3-month thing. You came to my house after I said I had plans. We thought you might want company. You thought if you arrived with dessert, I would change my plans. That's not a crime. I didn't call the police. I'm saying it was a nice gesture. A nice gesture stops being nice when the other person says no. His mouth tightened. The yellow serving bowl sat empty on the table. Paige picked it up and turned it over to see the maker's mark. This is pretty, she said. $6 at the flea market. You went to the flea market? With Denise. Aaron looked at me as though Denise and I had driven across state lines under false identities. When? Yesterday. You hate the flea market. I hate parking at the flea market. You said it's full of other people's dust. It is. I bought some. Paige smiled, but Aaron did not. I feel like you're making a point of having this whole new life, he said. I have had one free Saturday, and now you have Sunday plans, which you never do. I always had Sunday plans. I cooked for you. That was different. Yes. The words sat between us. Paige put the bowl down. We should go, she said. Aaron looked at his watch. We've been here 6 minutes, and Linda is leaving. She doesn't have to leave this second. I do if I want to be polite. To Denise? She's a person, Aaron. Politeness applies. He stared at me. The hurt was back, and this time it was not hidden under anger. I thought you'd be lonely tonight, he said. That was the first honest thing he had said since stepping onto the porch. I might be, I said. His eyes moved toward the dining room, where the photograph boxes still occupied one end of the table. Then, why won't you have dinner with us? Because I told someone else I would be there. You called her after Paige texted. Yes. So you made plans to avoid us. I made plans because you wanted to come to my house, and I didn't want to fall into the same Sunday without anybody acknowledging what it was. What do you want me to acknowledge? That you expected dinner. I brought dinner. You brought dessert. He opened his hands. Fine. Yes. I thought there might be food. There's always food here on Sunday. There is food. It's frozen. Then you're proving my point. What point? That this is punishment. I put on my coat. Not everything you dislike is punishment. He stepped aside as I walked toward the front door. Paige picked up the wine but left the tart in my refrigerator. On the porch, she hugged me. I am sorry, she whispered. I could not tell whether she meant for the video, the visit, or all the quiet choices that had made both possible. Aaron waited by his car. Call me when you get home, he said. I'm 67. That's never stopped you from making me call. He had me there. I'll send a text. He nodded, then opened the passenger door for Paige. The gesture was gentle and automatic. That was the trouble with reducing anybody to the worst thing they had done. Aaron could erase me from a tribute and still make sure his wife did not bump her head getting into the car. Denise lived 15 minutes away in a narrow brick townhouse with a blue door and a brass knocker, shaped like a hand. When I arrived, she was standing outside holding a wooden spoon. You're late by 3 minutes. I've never been able to say that to you before. I wanted to enjoy it. You're wearing slippers on the sidewalk. Retirement. She took the salad bowl from me and looked toward my car. You all right? Aaron and Paige dropped by. You let them in? For 6 minutes. Did you charge by the minute? I stored a tart. Dangerous. That's how they establish residency. Inside, the table was set for 4. Carl Benton, who had run the hotel kitchen for 20 years before retiring, was opening wine. His white mustache made him look permanently skeptical. Across from him sat Evelyn Shaw, a former banquet captain who wore red lipstick to breakfast and had once disarmed an entire wedding party by telling the groom's mother her rage was making her foundation separate. Carl lifted his glass when he saw me. The woman of leisure. I spent the afternoon arguing on a porch. So, management. Evelyn hugged me and held on just long enough to mean it. Denise carried the lasagna to the table. One corner was burned black. I wanted it crisp, she said. Carl leaned over it. Did you use a broiler or a welding torch? I cooked for friends. Criticism costs extra. We ate the middle. For the first half hour, nobody asked about the party. Carl complained about his neighbor's wind chimes. Evelyn had joined a dance class and described her instructor as an attractive tyrant with no respect for cartilage. Denise poured wine into mismatched glasses and served the salad from my yellow bowl. It felt strange to sit while someone else carried plates. Twice I started to rise. Twice Denise pointed the wooden spoon at me. Guest. I can help? I know. That's why you're staying seated. After dinner, Carl cleared the plates before I could move. Evelyn wrote 4 dates on the back of a grocery receipt. What's that? I asked. Dinner schedule. Denise hosted tonight. Carl's next, then me, then you. I didn't volunteer. You brought a bowl. That's how we induct people. Carl looked over from the sink. She'll make it too complicated. I will not. You used to send diagrams for buffet tables because people can't visualize traffic flow. It's dinner, Denise said. 1 main dish. Nobody irons a napkin. I don't iron napkins. All 3 of them looked at me. I steam them. Evelyn slid the grocery receipt across the table. Your turn is in 3 weeks. If you make individual place cards, we're leaving. I folded the receipt and put it in my purse. The conversation moved on, but something inside me shifted. It was not freedom exactly. Freedom sounded too clean. This felt more like standing in a room after somebody moved the furniture. Familiar walls, unfamiliar path, bruised shins likely. When I got home, the tart waited in the refrigerator. I cut a narrow slice and ate it over the sink. It was bright with lemon and better than I wanted it to be. I texted Aaron. Home. Tart is good. Thank you, he replied with a thumbs up. No heart, no joke, no good night. I set the phone down and washed my fork. 2 days later, my cousin Marlene called. I hear you canceled Sunday dinners. I postponed them. Aaron says 3 months. Then you already know. He's worried about you. He brought me a tart. That isn't the same as family. It came from family. Marlene sighed in the patient way people do when they have called specifically to be impatient. I'm not taking sides. Then we can talk about something else. I'm just saying family is family. That phrase has excused a lot of poor behavior. Aaron tried to honor you. He honored Lorna and Grant. I'm sure that wasn't intentional. It was. She paused. Well, even if it was, he's your only son. I know how many sons I have. You don't want to damage the relationship over pictures. I looked toward the dining room. The pictures didn't damage anything. They showed the damage. Marlene changed the subject after that, though not gracefully. On Wednesday evening, Lorna called. Her voice had the polished brightness she used when she was nervous. I hope I'm not interrupting. I'm folding towels. Good. Not good that you're folding towels. Good that I'm not interrupting. I waited. It seems my anniversary dinner has become a small diplomatic crisis, she said. For the record, I did not request potatoes. I didn't think you had. I also did not request lemon chicken. Grant would eat lemon chicken, but Grant once ate shrimp from a gas station. Travel Plaza. She laughed, then grew quiet. Linda, I would like you to come to the dinner. As a guest? As my friend. The answer came too quickly to be decorative. I sat down on the edge of my bed, one towel still across my knees. Does Aaron know you're calling? No. Does Paige? No. Why not? Because I'm inviting you to my anniversary, she said. I wasn't aware I needed a committee. I smoothed the towel with my palm. All right, I said. I'll come. After we hung up, I stayed there holding the folded towel. Being left out had been simple. Being invited back by the woman whose face had replaced mine was not. I folded the towel twice more before realizing it was already folded. The next morning, I bought Lorna and Grant a gift. That took longer than it should have. 40 years of marriage seemed too important for a bottle of wine and too dangerous for anything engraved. I stood in a department store looking at silver frames while a saleswoman explained that one could be personalized with their wedding date. If they've made it 40 years, I think they know the date, I said. She moved me toward glassware. I finally chose a heavy blue serving platter, the color of deep water. It was beautiful and impractical, which made it exactly the kind of thing Lorna would love and I would never buy for myself. I did not call Aaron to tell him I was attending. Lorna had invited me, and I did not need my son to approve my presence at someone else's anniversary. That sentence sounded powerful until I tried on 4 outfits and changed my earrings 3 times. The dinner was held in a private room at Bellini's, an Italian restaurant where the waiters wore white jackets and grated cheese as if they were settling a personal score. A gold number 40 stood on a table near the entrance, surrounded by photographs of Lorna and Grant through the years. Both of them appeared in every picture. I noticed that before I could stop myself, a young version of Lorna wore her hair to her waist. Grant had sideburns wide enough to shelter wildlife. There were photographs of them dancing, traveling, painting their first kitchen, and sitting together on a porch with 2 glasses of something pink. No one had decided their early life was too dated to display. Linda! Lorna came toward me in a midnight blue dress with sleeves that floated around her wrists. She embraced me with genuine warmth, then held me at arm's length. You look lovely. So do you. I've been wearing shaping garments since 4 this afternoon. If I sit too quickly, something internal may relocate. I handed her the gift. You didn't have to bring anything. I know. That's gorgeous paper. I paid a woman to wrap it. You're evolving. Grant appeared behind her in a gray suit. Is that a gift? No, Lorna said. Linda brought us a decorative box to carry around all evening. I like the ribbon. You are not opening it here. It's my anniversary. It was our wedding. That's how we got into this. He kissed my cheek. I'm glad you came, he said. There was no strain in it, no careful look to see whether I might shatter between appetizers. Just Grant, pleased to see me. I was promised food, I said. You were misled. The potatoes are suspicious. Lorna gave him a warning look. The potatoes are gratin. They're upright. They're stacked. Potatoes should not require engineering. I laughed, and some of the tightness between my shoulders eased. Then I saw Aaron. He stood near the bar talking to one of Paige's cousins. His hand stopped halfway to his glass when he noticed me. Paige followed his gaze. They both looked surprised. Paige recovered first. She crossed the room and hugged me. You came. Lorna invited me. Of course she did. She said you didn't know. Paige glanced toward her mother. I didn't. Aaron approached more slowly. Hi, Mom. Hello. He kissed my cheek. It was the kind of kiss distant relatives gave at funerals. You look nice, he said. Thank you. Did you drive? Yes. You're okay to drive home? I haven't had anything yet. I just meant later. I've been making decisions about alcohol and transportation for some time now. His expression tightened. I'm trying to be considerate. I answered the question. Paige touched his sleeve. Can we have one evening? I didn't start anything, he said. Neither of us had exactly. Yet there it was, already started. Lorna swept in before silence could harden. Linda, you're at our table. Aaron looked at her. I thought Aunt Celia was at your table. She's sitting with Martin and Gail. But the seating chart changed. You can't change it now. The place cards are already out. Lorna reached past him, plucked his place card from the table nearest us, and handed it to him. They're cardstock, Aaron, not federal appointments. Grant made a noise into his drink that might have been a cough. I followed Lorna to the center table. She had put me between Grant and Paige. Aaron sat on Paige's other side, close enough for me to hear him, but not close enough to speak without deciding to. The first course was a small salad containing 3 leaves and a pear slice thin enough to read through. Grant examined it. I believe this is garnish. Eat it, Lorna said. I don't want to deprive the plate. Across the table, Lorna's sister Celia asked about my retirement. How does it feel to be free? So far, freedom has involved a lot of laundry. You need a trip. Lorna said you and your sister might go somewhere. I looked at Lorna. She lifted her hands. Aaron mentioned Ruth invited you. Aaron kept his attention on his salad. I haven't decided, I said. You should go, Celia said. After Martin retired, he followed me around the house, asking where we kept things. Martin looked offended. You moved everything. I moved the aluminum foil one drawer. It had been in the same place for 32 years. Exactly. It was time. People laughed. Aaron smiled, but his eyes stayed on his plate. The meal passed in stretches of ease, interrupted by small moments that caught against me. A Belle cousin told me how beautiful the retirement tribute had been. A family friend said Lorna looked wonderful in the beach photograph. Grant asked which beach, then admitted he had forgotten the picture existed. When the potatoes arrived, they came stacked in narrow towers with crisp edges. Grant leaned toward me. Are they supposed to stand like that? They're afraid to lie down. He cut into one. The whole tower slid apart across his plate. Now they look normal. Aaron heard us and smiled despite himself. For 1 second, we were where we used to be, sharing the same joke. No effort required. Then he caught my eye and looked away. After dinner, Paige stood to check something with the restaurant manager. A waiter reached for her unfinished wine, and she moved the glass out of his way. I'm still working on that, she said. The waiter apologized. So am I said quietly. She looked at me. I'm glad you came, she said. Are you? Yes. Aaron doesn't seem glad. He's glad. He just feels ambushed. By my presence? By Mom inviting you without telling us. Why would she need to tell you? She doesn't. That's not what I mean. What do you mean? Paige traced a finger through the water ring beneath her glass. He thinks she's choosing a side. Is there a side? There shouldn't be. That doesn't answer the question. She looked tired. Not defensive, not polished. Just tired. I knew the video was wrong, she said. Not when he gave me the folder. I assumed you had picked the pictures together. But when I put it all in sequence, I asked him where you were. I waited. He said you didn't want old photos because they made you sad. He said that? He said you wanted the tribute focused on the family you have now. I felt my hand tighten around my napkin. And you believed him. At first, what changed? He kept removing pictures. Pictures with me. Yes. Before I could ask more, Aaron returned to the table. What are we talking about? The video, Paige said. He looked at her sharply. Tonight? It came up. How did it come up? Your mother asked whether I was glad she came. And that led naturally to video editing. Paige leaned back. Do you hear yourself? I hear both of you discussing me at your parents' anniversary. I wasn't discussing you. I was explaining what I knew to my mother. Who is in the explanation? Aaron looked around the room, checking again who could hear. He lowered his voice. This is exactly what I asked you not to do. I stared at him. What did I do? You brought it here. I brought a serving platter. Mom invited her, Paige said. I know Mom invited her. Lorna had approached behind him so quietly none of us noticed until she spoke. Then why are you saying it like I committed fraud? Aaron turned. We're fine. Lorna looked at me, then Paige. Are you? No, I said. Aaron's chair moved as he stood. Mom. What? We're not. Lorna set a hand on the back of an empty chair. This is not the evening for whatever this is, she said. Aaron gave me a look that said there. Even Lorna agrees. Then she added, which is why no one should have brought it to the table. His face changed. You think I brought it? I think Linda was sitting here, and you arrived angry that she was invited. I'm not angry she was invited. You've been watching her like she might steal the silverware. Grant, returning with 2 coffees, stopped. What did I miss? Nothing, Lorna said. That sounds expensive. She took 1 coffee from him. Go talk to Celia. She's explaining her thyroid to Martin. Then rescue Martin. Grant looked at me. I gave him a small nod, and he retreated. Aaron remained standing. You're making this bigger than it is, he said to Lorna. No, I'm asking you not to make your mother feel unwelcome at my anniversary. I came, I said. I ate. I'm not unwelcome. The words were for Aaron as much as Lorna. I did not want to be defended into helplessness. Lorna understood. She stepped back. Good, she said. Then we're having cake. She walked away to signal the waiter. Aaron sat down slowly. You could have told me you were coming, he said. You could have asked if I was invited. I assumed you wouldn't want to be here. Why? Because you're taking 3 months away from family. I'm taking 3 months away from being useful on command. I didn't say I was leaving the family. It feels like the same thing. There was no anger in his voice now. That made the answer harder. Then that's what we have to look at, I said. The lights dimmed before he could respond. A cake arrived covered in white roses. Everyone sang to Lorna and Grant while they stood with their arms around each other. Grant kissed her forehead. She laughed and wiped icing from his thumb. No video played. No one narrated what their marriage was supposed to mean. Later, near the coat check, Grant found me alone. I owe you an apology, he said. For the potatoes? For enjoying that tribute. I looked at him. I didn't understand what I was watching until Lorna explained it this morning. What did she explain? That we were in your family's story, he said, and you weren't. The coat check attendant returned with my jacket. Grant held it open for me. I should have noticed on my own, he said. I put my arms into the sleeves. Yes, I said. You should have. He nodded, accepting it without flinching. As I left, I saw Lorna watching from across the room. She did not wave. She simply held my gaze, as if there were more she intended to say when the room no longer belonged to her. Lorna called 2 mornings later and asked if I would be home around 2. I'll be here, I said. Is that permission or information? It's permission. Good. Grant says I have a tendency to hear what I want. Grant ate 5 anniversary potatoes after calling them suspicious. He also says hunger compromises judgment. At 2:10, she arrived carrying a bakery bag and wearing white slacks no sensible person would wear while holding coffee. I had expected the floating sleeves and silver earrings version of Lorna. Instead, her hair was pulled through the back of a baseball cap, and there was a faint brown stain near her thumb. I spilled, she said when she saw me looking. The lid was defective. You put it on yourself? That is not relevant. I let her in. She placed the bag on my kitchen counter. Scones. I asked for 4 and they gave me 6. Either they like me or I paid for 6. You paid for 6. I refused to examine the receipt. She noticed the 3 photograph boxes on the dining room table. I had shifted them twice that week without putting them away. Are those the pictures? Some of them? May I? The request surprised me. People rarely ask permission before opening family photographs. They treated them like public documents. I nodded. Lorna sat at the table and lifted the first lid. The picture of Aaron beside the broken-down car was still on top. Oh my, she said. It was not a good car. I'm looking at his hair. He thought it made him look like a musician. It makes him look electrically unsafe. She picked up the photograph with both hands. He looks happy. He was. That car stranded him in 4 counties, but he loved it. The next picture showed Frank and me at a hotel Christmas party. Frank wore a green tie with tiny snowmen. I was wearing the burgundy vest from the old banquet uniform and laughing at something outside the frame. Lorna studied it. You're beautiful. I was sweating. We had just moved 600 chairs. Both things can be true. She set the photograph down gently. I knew something was wrong with the tribute, she said. Not at first. I sat across from her. When did you know? The Christmas picture at your house. I remembered you were the one taking it. Then there was the mountain trip, and I thought, why are we watching my vacation at Linda's retirement party? You didn't look confused. I've had years of practice looking pleased while confused. I noticed Paige knew. Paige knew more than I did. She told me Aaron gave her the folder. Lorna nodded. He did. You saw it? No. She told me after the party. I waited. Lorna looked back into the box. I asked her why she had made the video that way. That was unfair. She said she hadn't. She said Aaron chose the pictures and removed some after she added them. She told me that much. She also said she asked him directly why you were barely in it. He told her I didn't want old photographs because they made me sad. Yes, they don't. I know that now. You could have asked me. I could have. She did not reach for an excuse. That made it harder to stay angry at her, which annoyed me. Lorna took off her cap and smoothed her hair. Linda? I enjoyed it. The party? The video? I looked at her. Not in the way that sounds. It sounds fairly specific. I enjoyed seeing us. Grant looked handsome in the fishing picture. I liked the beach photograph. When people were smiling at the screen, I thought it meant we were loved. She looked down at her hands. I noticed you were missing, and I allowed myself to believe there was an artistic reason because the alternative would have required me to stop enjoying it. That is honest. It is not flattering. Honesty rarely is. She gave me a small smile. Grant didn't notice until we watched people crowd around you afterward. He asked why none of the old hotel pictures showed Frank. There was one. Aaron cropped him out. Yes, Paige told us. Grant apologized. He has been apologizing to furniture since the party. Yesterday he walked into a chair and told it he should have noticed sooner. That sounds like Grant. Lorna picked up a photograph from one of my Sunday dinners. I was at the end of the table holding the yellow-handled carving knife Frank had sharpened every November. Aaron sat beside me, reaching across my plate for the gravy. Paige was laughing. Lorna and Grant were at the other end, blurred slightly because somebody had moved when the timer flashed. This should have been in it, she said. Aaron scanned it. I know. How? Paige remembers adding it. He took it out because he said the lighting was bad. I looked at the picture. The ceiling fixture cast a yellow tint over everyone. My hair looked too bright, Grant's face was partly shadowed, and the table was crowded with mismatched bowls. It was not a polished photograph, it was the family. I think Aaron likes us because we came after, Lorna said. After what? After the apartment, after the bad car, after losing Frank. By the time he met us, he had a good job and a decent jacket. We didn't see the years when he needed anybody. He still needs people. Yes, but with us, he can pretend it's mutual convenience. I leaned back. You've thought about this. Grant and I had a long conversation after the anniversary. It began with the video and ended with him confessing that he hates the decorative pillows in our bedroom. That seems unrelated. It was a broad evening. She returned the photograph to the box. I want you to know I never asked Aaron to make us central. I didn't think you did. I also want you to know Paige argued with him. I know she questioned it. She did more than question it. She told him the video looked like a tribute to us. He said you would appreciate seeing that he had people taking care of him. The words took a moment to settle. He said that? Yes. As if my retirement gift were proof that my position had been filled. Lorna reached across the table but stopped before touching my hand. I'm sorry. I looked toward the kitchen. The bakery bag leaned open, releasing the warm smell of blueberries and sugar. He thinks this is about one bad video, I said. I know. He thinks if I stop being angry, we can go back. Do you want to? The question was so plain I had no prepared answer. I want my son. That wasn't what I asked. You and Ruth should start a club. Ruth frightens me. She likes you. That frightens me more. I smiled, then looked at the photographs again. I don't know what going back means, I said. I don't know if the dinners made us close or only made us regular. I think both. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. She reached into her purse and took out her phone. I could call him. No, I wouldn't tell him I was here. I could simply ask questions. No. He listens to me sometimes. That is part of the problem. Lorna put the phone down. I don't understand. If you call him, then you become the reasonable mother explaining the unreasonable one. I wouldn't say that. You wouldn't have to. You would be the person he can hear. Her expression changed. I see. I don't need another woman cleaning up what he did, especially not the woman he put in my place. The sentence was harsher than I intended. Lorna absorbed it without moving. All right, she said. I'm not blaming you for what he chose. I know, but I'm not accepting pity from you either. I didn't bring pity. What did you bring? Scones and an apology. She glanced at the bakery bag, possibly 5 scones. I became anxious in the car. I laughed before I could stop myself. Lorna laughed too, but her eyes were wet. We ate scones at my kitchen table. She told me Grant had opened the anniversary gift at midnight because he could not tolerate not knowing. The blue platter was already on display in their dining room, though Lorna admitted he had first suggested using it for keys. Before leaving, she put the photographs back in the exact order she had found them. At the door, she said, "I won't speak to Aaron, thank you. But I won't pretend nothing happened if he asks me." "I wouldn't ask you to." She put on her cap. "For what it's worth, you're not difficult to see." Then she left before I could decide what to do with that. I stood in the doorway until her car disappeared. An hour later, I called Ruth. "How much are train tickets?" I asked. "You're coming?" I asked how much. "That means you're coming. Do you answer any question directly?" "Only billing questions." Old habit. We chose dates for the following week. I booked the ticket before I could invent a reason not to go. Ruth met me at Philadelphia's 30th Street station, wearing a purple coat and holding a sign that said, "Retired and still controlling." People smiled as I walked toward her. "You made a sign? I wanted you to feel important. I feel identified." She hugged me hard enough to press the breath out of my lungs. The next morning, we took the train to Baltimore. We walked the harbor, paid too much for crab cakes, and complained about our feet exactly as promised. Ruth bought a red scarf she did not need. I took a picture of her wearing it beside the water. "Send that to Aaron," she said. "Why? Because you've checked your phone 17 times. "I have not. You checked it while the waiter was describing coleslaw. He spoke for too long. My phone rang before I could put it back in my purse. "Aaron," I answered. "Hey, Mom, I'm near your house. Can I stop by and borrow the big roasting pan?" "I'm not home. When will you be back?" "Friday." Silence. "Friday, where are you?" "Baltimore." "With who?" I looked at Ruth. She raised her eyebrows. "Your aunt. You went to Baltimore?" "Yes, you didn't tell me, you didn't ask." Another pause. Then he said quietly, "I didn't know I had to." "You don't," I said. "Neither do I." "That's not the same." "Why?" "Because I usually know where you are. I usually know where you are because you tell me when you need something." "I called about a roasting pan." "Exactly." Ruth made a circular motion with one hand, urging me to keep going. I turned my back to her. Aaron lowered his voice. "Can I get the pan or not?" "You have a key. I'm asking permission." That stopped me. "Yes," I said. "It's in the cabinet beside the stove. I know where it is." "Then why did you ask?" "Because apparently I'm supposed to ask things now." He made it sound sarcastic, but there was uncertainty underneath. "Yes," I said. "You are." "All right, thank you." "You're welcome." Another pause opened between us. Behind me, a gull landed on the railing and stared at Ruth's paper basket of fries. "Is Baltimore nice?" Aaron asked. "It's windy. I mean, are you having a good time?" "Yes." "What have you done?" "We walked around the harbor. We ate crab cakes." "Mom doesn't like crab cakes," Ruth called loudly. "I like crab cakes. You like your own crab cakes." Aaron heard her. "Tell Aunt Ruth I said hi. She can hear you." "Hi, Aaron," Ruth called. "Your mother has joined the traveling class. Baltimore is 90 minutes from Philadelphia," I said. Magellan started small. Aaron laughed. It was a real laugh, sudden and warm. I felt my whole body respond to it before I could protect myself. "Take pictures," he said. "I have. Send me one." "All right." We hung up without mentioning the tribute, the anniversary dinner, or the 3 months. I stood with the phone in my hand while Ruth guarded her fries from the gull. "He wants a picture," I said. "Yes, Linda. I was present for the international summit." I opened the one I had taken of her in the red scarf. Not that one, she said. My chin has become political. Stand by the railing. We asked a passing couple to take one of us together. Ruth immediately removed the scarf and put one hand on her hip. I kept my purse over my shoulder because setting it down near open water felt irresponsible. The photograph was not flattering. Wind pushed my hair across my mouth, and Ruth looked as if she had just heard an indecent suggestion. I sent it anyway. Erin replied almost at once. Look at you two. Have fun. Be careful. Ruth read over my shoulder. Be careful of what? Crab theft? He worries. He worries more efficiently when you're home waiting for the dishwasher man. Can we have one afternoon where you don't analyze my son? Absolutely. What do you want to discuss? We walked 6 steps. Your son? She asked. I shoved her shoulder. She nearly dropped the fries and accused me of attempted murder. That night, we sat in Ruth's apartment drinking tea from cups that did not match their saucers. Her place was smaller than mine and far less organized. A basket of unfolded laundry occupied one end of the couch. A stack of travel brochures leaned against a ceramic cat wearing spectacles. You kept that hideous thing, I said. Frank gave it to me. Frank won it at a bowling alley. He chose to give it to me. That made it precious. He gave it to you because I wouldn't allow it in our house. Also precious. I picked up a brochure for Savannah. You planning another trip? I'm planning 12. I'll take 2. That seems wasteful. That seems hopeful. She tucked her feet beneath her. Were you always this unhappy with Aaron? I'm not unhappy with Aaron. You're unhappy because of Aaron. That is different. Is it? Yes. He is not a condition. He's a person. And people can be conditions. You did medical billing, Ruth. You did not go to medical school. She took my cup and refilled it. You cooked those dinners because you loved him, she said. Yes, and because if you cooked, he came. I looked at her. That is not fair. You used the food, too. For what? To avoid asking. I invited my family to dinner. That is asking. No, you announced dinner was at 5. Asking would be saying, I miss you. Will you spend time with me? I didn't have to say that. He knew. Ruth raised one eyebrow. I hated when she did that. It made her look like our mother. He should have known, I said. Probably. And you should have known he was embarrassed by the old pictures. Those are not equal. I didn't say they were. Stop making everything a courtroom. You're the one cross-examining me over tea. She sat back. My point is, usefulness was safe for both of you. He got cared for without feeling needy. You got to be wanted without admitting you needed him. I stared at the ceramic cat. The little painted spectacles were crooked. You make love sound ugly, I said. No. I think love gets ugly when people are afraid to name what they want. I stood and carried my cup to the sink. You do realize you scare Lorna. Good. She likes you, even better. I washed the cup longer than necessary. Behind me, Ruth said, I'm on your side. Maybe I don't want sides. Then stop behaving like anybody who questions you has crossed over. I turned off the water. I wanted him to put me in the video. Yes. I wanted him to look at those years and not be ashamed. Yes. I wanted him to know it would hurt without my having to tell him. Ruth's face softened. Yes, she said. That's the one that got you. The roasting pan was waiting on my kitchen counter when I returned home. Erin had washed it and placed a folded dish towel beneath it. Beside it stood a jar of strawberry preserves from a market I liked. A yellow note was stuck to the lid. Thanks. Chicken was dry. Pan performed well. I smiled, then grew angry at myself for smiling, then smiled again because both reactions were exhausting. I texted him that I was home. He sent another thumbs up. The following Thursday, Carl hosted dinner at his condo. He made beef stew and spent the entire evening claiming it needed salt, while refusing to let anyone add any. Evelyn brought bread. Denise brought wine. I brought nothing because Carl had threatened to search my purse. We talked about Baltimore. They wanted to see photographs, so I showed them the windy one of Ruth and me. Denise enlarged it with 2 fingers. You look happy. I have hair in my mouth. Still happy. Carl looked over her shoulder. You look cold. Thank you, Carl. I'm saying the coat isn't sufficient. Evelyn took the phone from him. This man once wore loafers in a snowstorm. They were leather. So was the snow by the time you got home. I laughed until my face hurt. When it was my turn to host 2 weeks later, I violated every rule. I made pot roast, mashed potatoes, glazed carrots, salad, and a pie. I set the yellow bowl in the center of the table and filled it with warm rolls. Denise arrived first, saw the dining room, and turned around. No, come back. You were told one main dish. I don't take instructions from guests. You took them from wedding planners for 38 years. I ignored most of those too. Carl inspected the table. No place cards. That's growth. Evelyn lifted the lid from the pot roast and closed her eyes. We can correct her gradually. Halfway through dinner, my phone rang. Aaron's name lit the screen where I had left it on the sideboard. Answer it, Denise said. I'm eating. You've spent 20 years telling people family calls are more important than hot food. I was wrong. It rang again. I excused myself and answered in the kitchen. Hey, Aaron said. What are you doing? Having dinner? With who? Friends. Oh. I heard voices on his end, then a cabinet closing. I was going to ask if you wanted to come over, he said. Tonight? Paige ordered pizza. I looked through the doorway at Denise stealing carrots from Carl's plate. I have guests. Right. You said, another night? Sure. Did you need something else? No. The answer was quick. Then, after a second, he added, I just thought you might want to come. I do want to see you. The kitchen went quiet around me. Okay, he said, but not tonight. Right. We made plans for coffee the following Tuesday. He canceled Monday evening because a work meeting had been moved. I told him it was fine. He said we would reschedule. He did not. The 3-month mark was approaching, and instead of becoming easier, the distance between us had developed routines. We spoke every few days. We were careful. He asked how I was. I answered in ways that did not require much from him. Neither of us mentioned Sunday dinner. Then Paige called. Mom is hosting Thanksgiving, she said. She really wants you there. I'd like to come. Good. That's good. Her relief made me cautious. What time? Dinner is at 4, but I was hoping you could come around noon. Why? A pause. Well, Mom is doing the turkey and I'm handling drinks and the table. But Aaron said nobody makes stuffing like you. And your sweet potatoes. Maybe the green beans, too. That's 3 things. There's also that cranberry relish, she said softly. I looked at the yellow bowl on my dining table, still holding the last 2 rolls from dinner. So I'm invited, I said, but I need to arrive 4 hours early with 4 dishes. When Paige answered, her voice had lost all its brightness. I hear it now. Good, I said. What do you hear? That I invited you to work? Yes. I didn't mean it that way, I know. And that doesn't make it better. No. She exhaled. I could picture her pinching the bridge of her nose, the way she did when Aaron was reading restaurant reviews after they had already ordered. Mom didn't ask for all that food, she said. Aaron made a list. Of course he did. He said Thanksgiving wouldn't feel right without your dishes. Did he say it wouldn't feel right without me? Paige was quiet. He assumed that part, she said. That's the part he keeps assuming. I'm sorry. I'll bring 1 dish. Which one? The cranberry relish. There was another pause, this one almost funny. Aaron hates the cranberry relish. I know. He says it has the texture of confetti. I'm not bringing food as a tribute to Aaron. A laugh escaped her. All right, cranberry relish. And I'll arrive at 3:45. Dinner is at 4. I know how invitations work. I deserve that. You didn't deserve it. You needed it. She called me back 10 minutes later. I just told Aaron. That was fast. He's here. What did he say? He asked why you chose the one thing nobody eats. Grant eats it. Grant eats gas station shrimp. Travel Plaza. She laughed again, then lowered her voice. He's irritated. He can make stuffing while irritated. It won't affect the texture. Linda. What? Thank you for still coming. That mattered more than I wanted it to. On Thanksgiving morning, I woke at 6 out of 30 years of habit. By 6:15, I had cranberries simmering with orange peel, ginger, and sugar. The house filled with the bright, sharp smell of fruit cooking down. One dish. I said it aloud each time I opened a cabinet. At 7, I took out the ingredients for stuffing and lined them on the counter. Bread cubes, celery, sage, the old blue canister of poultry seasoning with a lid that never fit correctly. I put everything away. At 8:30, I peeled sweet potatoes. Then I stopped halfway through the third one and stared at the orange curls in the sink. There was a difference between setting a boundary and staging a private performance nobody else could see. Throwing away 3 peeled potatoes would not teach Aaron anything. It would only leave me without lunch. I roasted them with olive oil and ate one standing at the counter. The cranberry relish went into the yellow bowl. I had planned to save that bowl for my dinners with Denise, Carl, and Evelyn, but using an object only with people who had not hurt me seemed like another kind of fear. At 3:43, I pulled into the Bells' driveway. The front windows glowed against the gray afternoon. Cars filled both sides of the street. Through the glass storm door, I could see Grant wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the cook." He had not cooked anything. He opened the door before I knocked. Linda. Thank God. What happened? Nothing. I've been greeting people for 40 minutes, and you're the first one I like. You said that to your brother. My brother knows our relationship has limits. He took my coat, but not the bowl. I have been instructed that you are a guest. By Lorna? By Lorna, Paige, and a note taped to the refrigerator. That seems clear. It was in red ink. Lorna appeared from the kitchen in a cream blouse and dark slacks, looking remarkably composed for a woman roasting a turkey for 14 adults. "You came at the correct time," she said. "I can sit in the car for 2 minutes if that helps." It might. Celia arrived at 2 with a pie and has reorganized my serving spoons. She kissed my cheek and looked at the yellow bowl. Cranberry relish? Yes, I love cranberry relish. You told me last year it looked festive but tasted medicinal. That was before I understood its emotional significance. It has no emotional significance. Then I still find it festive. Aaron was in the dining room adjusting glasses. He wore a gray sweater I had given him 2 Christmases earlier. He saw the bowl. "You actually brought the relish." "I said I would." "I thought you were joking." "About cranberries?" "About choosing the one dish nobody asked for. Paige asked for it. I asked for stuffing, sweet potatoes, green beans, and cranberry relish. You asked for 4 things. I selected one." He moved a water glass half an inch to the left. "We bought stuffing. I'm sure it will be fine. It's from Bellini's. Then it will stand upright." His mouth twitched. He tried not to smile and mostly succeeded. "I'm glad you're here," he said. There was strain in it, but also truth. "I'm glad I'm here." He nodded as if we had completed a difficult transaction. Dinner began 20 minutes late because Lorna refused to serve the turkey until Grant stopped carving it like an animal. He claimed the knife was dull. She reminded him he had sharpened it that morning. I sat between Evelyn Bell, Grant's older sister, and a family friend named Donald, who believed every silence was an invitation to discuss property taxes. Across from me, Aaron sat beside Paige. The stuffing was good. I hated that I noticed. Grant took 2 helpings of cranberry relish and told everybody it improved circulation. When Lorna asked where he had heard that, he said he could feel it happening. Conversation moved around the table. Celia described a disastrous cruise. Donald objected to the city's new parking meters. Someone asked about my Baltimore trip, and Aaron looked surprised when I told the story about Ruth nearly losing her fries to a gull. "You didn't tell me that," he said. "I sent you a picture." "You sent me one picture. It was a very expressive picture." Ruth looked angry. Ruth always looks angry in photographs. She thinks smiling gives the camera too much power. People laughed. For a while, it was good. Not falsely good. Actually good. Paige reached across Aaron to pass me the gravy. Lorna asked about my dinner group. Grant said Carl's beef stew had nearly killed him at a hotel Christmas party in 2009, and I explained that Grant had eaten 3 bowls. Aaron told a story about my old banquet uniform and made me sound funny instead of foolish. That was what made the kitchen harder. After dinner, people carried plates in despite Lorna's protests. I brought the yellow bowl to the counter. It was nearly empty. Aaron followed with a stack of dishes. "Mom told you not to help," he said. "I carried 1 bowl. You're making a point. I am putting leftovers away. You've been making a point all day." I set the bowl down. What point? Showing up at exactly 3:45 with cranberry relish. That is what I told Paige I would do. And letting everybody talk about your new dinner group and your trip. I answered questions. You've answered more questions from strangers tonight than you've answered from me in 2 months. Donald explained parking meters for 12 minutes. I would not call that intimacy. He placed the plates beside the sink. You know what I mean? You keep saying that. Because you keep pretending not to. Paige entered carrying glasses. She stopped when she saw our faces. "I'm going to take these back," she said. "No," Aaron said. "Stay." "I don't think stay. You're part of this." I looked at her. "You don't have to be." "I know," she said. Then she set the glasses down. "I'm staying." Aaron leaned against the counter. "You used to enjoy doing things for us." There was no accusation in his tone. That made it worse. He sounded honestly confused, as if someone had replaced his mother while he was not looking. "I enjoyed being with you," I said. "You kept the things I did and edited out the person who did them." His face closed. "We're back to the video. We never left it. It was 7 minutes. It was a decision. It was a mistake." "You didn't call it a mistake until other people noticed. Other people noticed because you told them." Denise was sitting beside me, and Lorna somehow knows every detail. She asked Paige, "She came to your house." The kitchen went still. I looked at Paige. "You told him?" "No." "Mom did." "When?" "Last week," Aaron said. "She wanted me to know she wasn't taking sides. Apparently that went well. She said you told her not to talk to me. I did. Why? So you could control what I heard? So you would have to hear it from me. You barely speak to me. I've been waiting for you to ask something besides whether I have a pan." His cheeks reddened. "I have asked how you are, and I answer. With weather reports. Because whenever I say anything real, you tell me I'm making it too big. You are making it too big." Paige closed her eyes. Aaron saw her. "What? You agree with her?" "I agree you should stop saying that. So everybody's on Mom's side now." "There are no sides," I said. "Then why do I feel like I'm on trial every time I walk into a room? Because you keep checking the room before you tell the truth." He stared at me. The sentence hit. I saw it. Then he pushed away from the counter. "You want the truth? Fine. I hated those pictures." Paige said his name quietly. "No." She keeps asking. "I hated the apartment pictures. I hated that car. I hated those folding chairs we had to drag out every time somebody came over. I hated people knowing we couldn't replace anything until it completely fell apart. That was our life. It was your favorite story." I stepped back as if he had raised his voice, though he had not. "My favorite story? The one where you sacrificed everything and I was the reason." "I never said that. You didn't have to. Every broken thing became evidence of how hard you worked for me. I was proud of how hard I worked, and I was tired of being the thing you had to work that hard for." The room beyond the kitchen was loud with conversation. Somebody laughed. Silverware clattered into a serving dish. Paige stood between us without being physically between us. I tried to find an answer that would not injure all 3 of us. "What did you want me to do?" I asked. "Pretend those years didn't happen?" I wanted one night that wasn't about surviving them. It was my retirement party. "I know, my night. I know. You could have left out every picture you hated and still found one where I was sitting at my own table." He looked down. That was the first moment he had no defense. I waited. Paige waited. From the dining room, Lorna called, "Coffee?" Aaron rubbed the side of his thumb. "I'm sorry the video hurt you," he said. The words were careful, arranged to end something. I felt more tired than angry. "You're sorry it hurt me," I said. "You're not sorry you made it. I don't know what you want anymore. I want you to know the difference." I picked up the yellow bowl. Paige followed me to the front hall. "Don't leave like this," she said. "I'm not trying to punish anyone, I know. I just can't sit down and have pie, I know." Lorna came toward us, alarm rising in her face. I shook my head before she could speak. "Dinner was lovely. Linda, thank you for inviting me as a guest." Outside, the air had turned cold. I carried the bowl against my coat and walked to my car while the dining room windows glowed behind me. No one chased me. That was what I wanted. It was also, for the first few miles home, the hardest part. At the first red light, I almost turned around. I could still picture the coffee being poured, Grant cutting the pie too large, Lorna pretending not to notice. I imagined walking back into the warm house and saying I had forgotten my purse. I had not forgotten my purse, but people forgive obvious lies when the lie lets them stop being uncomfortable. The light changed. I drove home. There was a text from Aaron before I took off my coat. "Are you home?" "Yes," he replied. "Good." I waited for more until the screen dimmed in my hand. The yellow bowl was nearly empty. A streak of red relish marked one side. I put it in the sink, turned on the water, and watched the cranberry stain loosen and disappear. I did not cry until I found a whole berry stuck beneath the rim. It had nothing to do with the berry, which was part of the humiliation. The next morning, Paige called. I let it go to voicemail. "Hi, Linda, I wanted to make sure you're all right. I know that's not enough. I know last night was bad. Call me when you want to, or don't. I'm sorry." Aaron did not call. By Sunday, I had decided his silence was punishment. By Monday, I decided it was shame. Tuesday afternoon, I admitted I had no idea what it was, because he had inherited from me the ability to conduct an entire relationship without saying the one sentence that mattered. Denise came over with turkey soup. "I don't need food," I said. "I know. I made too much." "You never make soup." "I heated too much." She handed me the container. We sat at my kitchen table. The photograph boxes were still there, though I had finally stacked them against the wall. He said he hated the pictures, I told her. "Which pictures?" "The apartment, the car, the folding chairs." "I hated those folding chairs too. One pinched me at Frank's 50th. That's not the point. I know." She opened the bakery bag she had also brought and removed 2 cheese danishes. "You brought soup and pastry?" "The soup is emotional support. The pastry is breakfast. It's 2 in the afternoon. Retirement." I told her the rest of the kitchen argument. When I finished, she brushed crumbs from her sweater. "Both things can be true," she said. "You've been talking to Lorna." "No, but I'm disturbed you think she invented that." "What 2 things?" "He can be ashamed of those years, and he can be wrong for being ashamed of you. I never asked him to be grateful for every hard thing." "No." "You asked him to remember you were there. Apparently that was too much." Denise reached across the table and turned my coffee mug so the handle faced me. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make his worst answer his final answer. I'm not making him do anything. You've always had a talent for declaring a banquet ruined before the entree. That was my job. If the entree was late, the banquet was ruined. And then you fixed it. This isn't a banquet. No, there are fewer forks." She stayed until dusk. Before leaving, she wrote the date of Evelyn's retirement supper on my calendar, even though Evelyn had retired years ago from the hotel. "What is this?" I asked. "Not our Evelyn. Evelyn Morris in accounting. How many Evelyns do we know?" 3. 4. If Carl's sister is still alive. Is she not? He speaks of her only in the past tense, but she sends Christmas cards. Evelyn Morris's dinner would be at a small Italian place near the hotel. Denise insisted I go, because Evelyn had processed 30 years of banquet invoices without once using the phrase, "per my last email," which she considered an act of sainthood. Paige came to my house the following Saturday. She had texted first, "Can I come by?" No errand, no dishes, no hidden request. I answered yes. She arrived carrying nothing, then held up her empty hands at the door. Proof. You could have a request in your pocket. I wore a dress. No pockets. I let her in. She sat at the dining room table and looked at the photograph boxes. Mom told Aaron she visited. I know. She thought honesty meant telling him. That sounds like Lorna. She didn't tell him what you said, only that she came. Does he know she apologized? Yes. How did that go? He asked what she had to apologize for. I looked away. Paige folded her hands. I'm not here to explain him. Good. I'm here to apologize for myself. You already did. I said the words. I didn't say what I did. I waited. When I realized the video was wrong, I argued with him in our kitchen. He said I was overthinking it. I told him we should call you. He said calling would make you self-conscious and ruin the surprise. That sounds like him. It also sounded convenient, and I knew that. She looked toward the window. The night before the party, I watched the whole thing again. I knew you would be hurt. I considered adding the pictures back after Aaron went to bed. Why didn't you? Because he would have been angry with me. The answer was so unprotected, I had nothing ready for it. He wouldn't have stayed angry, she added, but he would have said I didn't trust his judgment. We would have fought before the party. I told myself I was protecting his gift to you. You were protecting your evening. Yes, she swallowed. I let you walk into that room because keeping peace with my husband was easier than telling you the truth. I sat across from her. Thank you for saying it plainly. I don't expect that to fix anything. It doesn't. I know. Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. There's more, she said. There usually is. I've used you, too. I almost objected. Paige had rarely asked me for practical favors directly. She sent thank you notes. She remembered my birthday without Aaron's help. When Aaron shuts down, she said, I call you. You call to see if he told me anything. I call because you know how to reach him. Then I act like we're just chatting. I thought of conversations about recipes that somehow became conversations about Aaron's mood. You're better at disguising the request, I said. That does not make it better. No, I'm sorry. We sat in silence. Then she glanced at the boxes. May I see them? I hesitated before pulling the top one closer. For the next hour, we looked through pictures. Paige laughed at Aaron's electrically unsafe hair. She touched Frank's face in the grilling photograph and asked why his suspenders were hanging loose. He lost a fight with his pants. She laughed harder than the joke deserved. When she left, she hugged me at the door. I'm not asking you to forgive him, she said. Good. But he misses you. That is something he can tell me. I know. Paige. She stopped. I miss him, too. Her face softened. I won't tell him. Why not? Because that is something you can tell him. I stood in the doorway after she drove away, irritated by how much I liked her. Evelyn Morris's retirement supper filled 2 long tables at the Italian restaurant. Former hotel employees came from departments that had spent decades blaming one another for missing paperwork. Without work between them, they behaved like cousins at a reunion. I sat between Denise and Carl. Evelyn moved through the room, receiving hugs, wearing a silver blouse and laughing whenever anyone mentioned spreadsheets. A waiter set down a tray of drinks. My hand lifted automatically. Denise caught my wrist. You are not working. I'm helping him pass. He has arms. The waiter looked alarmed. I do, he confirmed. I sat back. Later, when the cake came, somebody asked where Linda kept the knife. Every head turned toward me. I don't keep anything here anymore, I said. The room laughed. So did I. That was when I saw Aaron near the hostess stand. He and Paige had entered behind another couple. They were not there for Evelyn's supper. The hostess was leading them toward a small table on the other side of the dining room when Paige noticed us. She touched Aaron's arm. He turned. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Evelyn Morris shouted, "Is that Linda's boy?" At 41, Aaron closed his eyes briefly at being called somebody's boy in a crowded restaurant. He came over. Evelyn hugged him. Denise made him greet everyone he remembered. Carl accused him of never returning a carving knife in 2012. Aaron defended himself with surprising detail. I watched the tension leave his face. He looked around the table at the people passing food to me, refilling my water, telling stories in which I was present but not responsible for the ending. When I laughed at something Carl said, Aaron stared. Not jealously, more as if he had opened the wrong door and found a room in my life he had assumed was a closet. "Enjoy your dinner," I told him. "You too." He returned to Paige, but I felt his eyes on our table several times. 2 nights later, he came to my house. He called from the driveway. "I know showing up isn't respecting the rules," he said. "Can I come in?" "Yes." He carried a pizza. "Is this an invitation disguised as food?" I asked. "It's food disguised as an apology." We ate at the kitchen table. For a while, we talked about Evelyn's supper. He remembered more hotel people than I expected. "I liked seeing you there," he said. "I liked being there. You looked happy." I was. He rubbed his thumb. "I miss Sunday dinner. I miss it too." We could start again. The hope in his voice frightened me. Not the way it was. Why not? Because nothing has changed. "I brought pizza," I asked before coming. "I've given you space. You've been keeping score. You gave me 3 months. I gave myself 3 months. That sounds like the same thing. It isn't." His face hardened. "So what am I supposed to do, Mom? Understand why we can't go back to normal?" I apologized. "You said you were sorry the video hurt me. Isn't that an apology?" "It's sympathy for my reaction. It says nothing about your choice." He pushed his plate away. "I came here because I wanted my mother back. Normal is what made that video possible." He stared at me. Then he stood. "How long am I supposed to pay for 7 minutes?" "Until you stop counting the minutes." He picked up his coat. At the door, he turned. "Do you even want to be my mother anymore?" The question stripped every clever answer out of me. "Yes," I said. "I want to be your mother. I don't want that to be all I'm allowed to be." He left without slamming the door. I stood in the hallway listening to his car start. On the kitchen table, the pizza remained between 2 plates, half eaten and already going cold. I wrapped the pizza and put it in the refrigerator. Then I took it back out, ate another slice over the sink, and disliked myself for being comforted by something he had brought. The next morning, a hardware store advertisement arrived in my email with roasting pans on sale. I laughed hard enough to scare myself. Aaron did not call for 9 days. I knew because I counted them while telling myself I was not counting. On the 10th day, he texted, "Do you have plans for Christmas? Ruth is coming here. Are you doing dinner?" I stared at the question. Yes. Another message appeared. "Just you two?" "Denise and Carl may stop by. Evelyn has plans with her dance instructor." The 3 dots came and went. "We're going to Paige's parents. You're invited." "Thank you, but I already have plans." "Okay." 2 minutes later. "Can we exchange gifts before?" He and Paige came on December 23rd. They called first and arrived precisely at 7, so precisely that I suspected they had sat in the car watching the clock. I had made coffee, but no dinner. Paige brought cookies in a red tin. Aaron looked at the empty dining table, then caught himself looking. "Coffee?" I asked. "Please." We exchanged gifts in the living room beneath a tree I had nearly decided not to put up. Ruth had talked me into it by saying grief was not improved by poor lighting. I gave Paige a silk scarf and a cookbook from a chef she liked. She gave me a set of travel organizers in 3 sizes. "For your next trip," she said. "I don't have a next trip. Now you have to plan 1. Aaron handed me a flat, rectangular box. Inside was a small leather overnight bag, brown and soft with sturdy handles and my initials stamped near the zipper. I ran my fingers over the letters. "That is too much," I said. "It was on sale." Paige looked at him. "It was not," she said. He ignored her. "You were carrying that old flowered thing in the Baltimore picture. That bag is dependable. That bag fought in Korea. It belonged to your grandmother. Exactly. I looked at him. The gift was not an apology, but it was evidence that he had seen the photograph I sent instead of merely noting I was away. Thank you, I said. You like it? I do. His shoulders lowered. I gave him the cedar aftershave I bought every year. He opened the paper and smiled. I was worried you might decide the tradition was unhealthy. It's aftershave, not an emotional arrangement. I almost bought it myself. That would have ruined it. I know. For a while, the evening was easy. Paige told us about Grant attempting to hang outdoor lights without a ladder. Aaron described a work dinner where a man had called him Darren for 2 hours, and Aaron had eventually stopped correcting him. When their coffee was gone, Paige gathered the cookie tin and wrapping paper. We should go, she said. Aaron did not move. Mom, are you sure about Christmas? I'm sure. You could come to the Bells for dessert? Ruth will be here. Bring Aunt Ruth. You say that as though she can be transported without consent. I don't want you to think you weren't invited. I don't. He nodded. The invitation was real. So was my refusal. Neither canceled the other. At the door, he hugged me longer than usual. Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas. I watched their car leave, then carried the new overnight bag to my bedroom. The old flowered bag sat on the closet shelf with one handle repaired in gray tape. I did not throw it away. Ruth arrived the next afternoon with 4 bottles of wine and no pajamas. You packed wine but not clothes? I was prioritizing shared resources. What are you sleeping in? One of your nightgowns. You'll stretch it. That is an unseasonal attitude. Christmas dinner was loud enough to keep me from imagining the Bells table. Denise brought rolls and a box of chocolates. Carl brought a roast already sliced because he did not trust my knives. Ruth made mashed potatoes with enough garlic to affect the weather. At 6, Aaron sent a photograph. He and Paige stood beside Lorna and Grant in front of the Bells tree. Grant wore a paper crown from a holiday cracker. Lorna held the blue serving platter I had given them, now filled with cookies. Merry Christmas, we miss you. I showed Ruth. Nice platter, she said. That was my anniversary gift to them. Do you want to call? Not now. Why? Because I don't want to. She studied me. That sounded true. It is. Good. An hour later, I sent a photograph of our table. Denise was making a face at Carl, who had taken the largest slice of pie. Ruth was raising her glass. I was in the picture because we had asked the timer to do the work. Merry Christmas, I wrote. I miss you too. Aaron put a heart beneath it. January arrived without ceremony. The hotel called twice to ask questions about events I had planned before retiring. The first time, I answered everything. The second time, I told the new banquet manager where the files were and wished her luck. My dinners with Denise, Carl, and Evelyn continued. Ruth returned home with 2 of my nightgowns, claiming she had accidentally packed them. I booked a spring trip to Savannah so the travel organizers would not become an accusation. Aaron and I spoke every few days. He asked about the hotel call and listened to my complaint about the new manager changing the linen count. I asked about his work. He did not ask me to solve anything. That should have felt like progress. Instead, it sometimes felt as if we had removed every dangerous piece from the relationship and discovered we no longer knew how to play. One Thursday evening, he called. Can I come by Saturday? What time, 2? For what? To see you. I waited. That's it, he said. No pan. All right. He arrived carrying a wide gray envelope and a paper bag from the coffee shop. Black, he said, handing me 1 cup. No vanilla. Growth. I wrote it down. He set the envelope on the dining room table. The photograph boxes had finally been moved to the sideboard, though their outlines remained in the dust. What's that? I asked. The original folder Paige used for the video was still on our computer. She kept a copy before I started cutting things. He opened the envelope. Inside were printed photographs, not the glossy originals from my boxes, but new copies made from the scans. He placed them on the table one at a time. The apartment, the bad car, folding chairs around a crowded table, Frank at the grill with 1 suspender hanging. Aaron asleep beside Frank's hospital bed, my hand on Aaron's shoulder. Paige with the blue paint on her fingers beneath the mark she had left on my ceiling. He had arranged them in the same order I had given them to him. "I remember scanning these," he said. "So do I. I didn't remember some of the stories." "You've heard them. I've heard what happened. I don't think I asked what it was like for you." I pulled out a chair but did not sit. "Why now?" He rubbed his thumb, stopped himself, then let his hand fall flat on the table. "Because I kept trying to prove the video wasn't as bad as you said. That does not answer the question." "I know." He looked at the photographs. "I watched it again on Christmas." "The tribute?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because Grant asked if I had. That surprised me." "What did you tell him?" I said no. He said maybe I should watch it without a room full of people telling me it was beautiful. That sounds like Grant. He wasn't joking. Aaron picked up the Christmas photograph taken at my house. "I kept looking for you," he said. "You knew I wasn't there, I know. But when I watched it this time, it felt like you should walk into one of the pictures, like you were just off-screen carrying something." I sat down. He placed the photograph between us. "I want to hear about them," he said. "Which one?" "All of them. That will take longer than 7 minutes." "I know." We began with the car. He remembered it as a humiliation on wheels. I remembered driving behind him the day he bought it because the brake lights worked only when the trunk was closed hard enough. He laughed, then asked why I let him keep it. "Because you paid for it," I said. "You were an adult. I thought you paid half." I did, quietly. "So I didn't pay for it. You paid for the half you knew about. That seems dishonest. You were proud." He looked at me. "You protected my pride a lot sometimes. And resented it? Sometimes." He nodded. At the photograph of the folding chairs, he said, "I hated bringing people over." I knew. "You did?" "You turned off the lamp so nobody could see the water stain." His face changed. "I thought you didn't notice. I put the bucket under it when it rained." He smiled without humor. "I felt poor. We were poor for a while." "You never acted embarrassed. I didn't have time. That is exactly the kind of thing I mean." "What kind of thing?" "You make hardship sound like a shift you clocked into. Sometimes that was easier." He looked down. "What did the folding chair dinner feel like to you?" I studied the picture. Frank was at the far end holding a serving spoon. Denise sat beside him. Aaron was leaning back in one of the folding chairs, laughing with his whole mouth. It felt crowded, I said, and loud, and successful. Successful? Everyone had a place to sit. We moved to Frank at the grill. "He looked tired," Aaron said. "He was tired. That's why I cut it." "I know." "Were you angry?" "That he looked tired? That I didn't want people to see him that way." I touched the loose suspender in the picture. "It was the last summer before everything became appointments," I said. "He had worked that morning. He grilled too much chicken. After everybody left, he danced with me on the patio to a song coming through the kitchen radio." "What song?" "I don't remember." He seemed surprised. "Really?" "Memory is rude. It keeps the suspender and loses the music." He was quiet for a long time. When we reached the hospital photograph, he pushed it aside. "I'm not ready for that one." "All right. I used the bells because they looked like what I wanted people to see." "I know." "No, I need to say it." He put both hands around his coffee cup. They looked stable, easy. I didn't owe them for becoming who I am. They met me when I could pay for dinner and help Grant with his phone. I could be useful to them. I heard Ruth's voice in my head. Usefulness was safe for both of you. Aaron looked at me. "With you, I was always the person who needed something. You were my son." "I know. But I made that feel like a debt. That was not what I wanted. I know that now." He took a breath. "I made the family I wanted to be seen with more important than the person who kept choosing me." Neither of us moved. He continued before I could rescue him from the silence. I lied to Paige about what you wanted. I removed pictures she told me to keep. I let you sit in that room and watch it because I thought if everybody else liked it, you would too. And when you didn't, I tried to make your reaction the problem." His voice broke on the last word. "I am sorry I made it," he said. "Not just that it hurt you." I looked at my son across the photographs he had rejected. "Thank you," I said. He nodded, but he did not look relieved. "Does that fix anything?" "No, I didn't think so." "Good." He gave a weak laugh. I touched the hospital photograph he had pushed aside. "You do not have to understand all of it today." "I want to." "That is not the same as being ready." He looked at me then. "Can I come back next week?" "For what?" "To hear the rest. No pan, no pan." I slid Frank's grilling photograph toward him. "Next week," I said, "and bring lunch." He brought turkey sandwiches, tomato soup, and 3 kinds of chips. "I didn't know which kind you liked," he said. "Plain." I bought plain. "And?" "Barbecue and sour cream." "So you did know. I wanted options." He set everything on the kitchen counter, then looked at the stove. "Do you want the soup heated in a pot or the microwave?" "A pot." "I knew you'd say that." "Then why ask?" "Apparently, asking things is part of my growth." He opened the wrong cabinet, found mixing bowls, and closed it. Then he opened the cabinet beside the stove. "The pot you need is on the bottom." "I know. You were reaching for the top." "I was surveying." I sat at the table and let him survey. The soup came from a deli and required no skill beyond heat, but Aaron stirred it with the concentration of a pharmacist. He set 2 bowls on the table, brought spoons, then returned for napkins without being told. "You've done this before," I said. "Paige makes me participate in my own household." What a woman! We ate before opening the gray envelope. The hospital photograph remained near the bottom. Aaron lifted it carefully. Frank was asleep in the bed, though the angle made him look smaller than I remembered. Aaron was folded into a vinyl chair with his chin against his chest. I stood behind him, one hand on each of his shoulders, staring directly at the camera. "Who took this?" Aaron asked. "Ruth." "I don't remember her being there. She came for 2 days. Was this after Dad's first heart attack?" "Yes." The first one had not killed him. It had frightened him into giving up salt for 11 days and frightened me into checking whether he was breathing every time the house became quiet. 6 months later, the second one took him before either of us could pretend we were prepared. "I remember the hospital," Aaron said. "I don't remember this chair. You complained about it for 6 hours. That sounds more accurate." He traced the white edge of the bed rail. "What were you thinking?" "That your father was going to die." "He didn't. Not then." "I didn't know that." "You looked calm." "I was not calm." "You told me everything would be fine." "I lied." He glanced up. "You don't usually admit that." "I lied a lot when you were young." "About what?" "Money. Your father's health. Whether I was tired. How long hamburger could stay frozen. You told me 6 months. That was accurate. I once found a package from 1994. The freezer was cold." He smiled, then looked at the photograph again. "Did you resent me being there?" "No." "For falling asleep?" "No." "For needing you to say it would be fine?" "No." He waited. "I resented everyone," I said. "The doctors, your father, you. People buying coffee in the lobby as if the world had not stopped." "That sounds more honest. I was angry because I was afraid. You were afraid too. I thought I had to stay for you. I thought I had to stay steady for you. So we both lied. Family tradition." He set the photograph down. "I think that's what I hated," he said. "Not that we had hard years, that everybody knew what they were supposed to say about them. What were they supposed to say? That you were strong. Dad was brave. I was a good son. We all loved each other so much it made the fear meaningful. The fear was not meaningful. I know that now. It was just fear." He nodded. "I'm sorry I made the pictures into a story you didn't recognize," I said. His eyes narrowed slightly. "You don't have to apologize because I did." "I'm not." Then what are you apologizing for? For telling our history in a way that left no room for how it felt to you. He leaned back. You never said I owed you. I implied it sometimes. When? Every time I did too much, waited until I was tired, then sighed loudly enough for you to notice. That was often. I know. You also banged cabinet doors. Only the bad one. They were all bad. We both laughed. I looked at the pictures spread between us. I liked being needed, I said. It made my place clear. He listened. I told myself I cooked because everyone loved the dinners. That was true. I also knew if I cooked, everyone came. I didn't have to ask whether you wanted to see me. I did want to, I know. Do you? I'm trying to. He reached for the plain chips. What should you have asked? I looked at him. I miss you. Will you spend time with me? He put the chip down. I miss you too. The words were simple enough to sound almost foolish after everything we had used instead. We finished the photographs that afternoon. Not every story was important. One picture existed because Frank had accidentally photographed his own thumb. Another showed a restaurant meal none of us could place. Aaron tried to convince me a woman in the background was his high school guidance counselor. I told him she was a lamp. When he left, he washed the soup pot and wiped the stove. He did not ask when Sunday dinners would resume. The next week, he called on a Wednesday evening. Do you have a minute? Yes, I had a terrible day. What happened? He told me about a presentation at work that had gone wrong when a colleague changed the numbers without warning him. My old instinct rose immediately. Questions, solutions, the name of somebody he should call. Do you want advice, I asked, or do you want me to listen? He went quiet. Listen first. So I listened. At the end, he said, now advice. I gave him some. A few days later, he invited me to dinner at his house. What should I bring? I asked. Yourself. What are you cooking? Why does that matter? I need to know whether to eat first. Paige is cooking. Then I'll be there. He laughed. I had already agreed to Evelyn's dance showcase that evening. 6 months earlier, I would have canceled it. Instead, I told him I was free the following Friday. Okay, he said. No sigh. No wounded pause. Just okay. At the showcase, Evelyn wore silver shoes and danced a cha-cha with the attractive tyrant she had complained about for months. Denise shouted her name from the second row until an usher asked her to lower her voice. Afterward, we went for coffee. Evelyn was still wearing stage makeup and glitter near one eyebrow. My knee has filed a complaint, she said. You looked wonderful, I told her. I know, I sent Aaron a short video of her dancing. He replied, that's impressive. Tell her congratulations. He did not ask why I had chosen it over dinner. The following Friday, I went to his house. Lorna and Grant were there, too. Paige made baked ziti. Aaron had prepared salad and announced that cutting tomatoes counted as cooking. Grant examined the salad. The pieces are inconsistent. They're rustic, Aaron said. Some are slices, some are incidents. Lorna told both of them to sit down. I waited for the evening to feel like a test. It did at first. Everyone was too attentive. Paige asked 3 times whether I needed anything. Lorna praised the salad as if Aaron had cultivated the lettuce. Grant refused to stop making remarks about the tomatoes. Then Aaron spilled red wine on the tablecloth. All 5 of us moved at once. Paige grabbed salt. Lorna shouted that salt was for carpets. Grant produced a stack of cocktail napkins that disintegrated on contact. I reached for the water pitcher. Stop, Aaron said. We froze. He looked at the spreading stain. I did it. I'll clean it. Blot from the outside, I said. Mom, that is not taking over. That is information. He pointed at me. Sit. I sat. He cleaned the stain badly. A pink shadow remained across the linen. Nobody died. Over dessert, Paige asked about Savannah. I found a hotel near the historic district, I said. When are you going? Aaron asked. April. Alone? The old question carried an old anxiety. I felt myself prepare for a defense. Then he added, if you are, that's fine. I'm just asking. I may ask Ruth. Does the new bag fit under an airplane seat? I'm taking the train. From here? I have time. Grant nodded approvingly. Flying has become undignified. You took a flight last month, Lorna said. I was undignified. When I left, Aaron walked me to my car. I had a good time, he said. So did I. We should do it again. Yes. He pushed his hands into his jacket pockets. Could we maybe have Sunday dinner again someday? I looked at him beneath the porch light. Not the old way. I know. Do you? I don't want you doing everything. What do you want? To see you. The answer came without performance. I touched his arm. Then we can make something new. He nodded, but neither of us named it yet. The idea developed over coffee with Paige the next week. We had begun meeting without Aaron, not often, but enough to learn that our relationship did not require him as its central subject. What if dinner moved? Paige asked. To a restaurant? Between houses. Mom and Dad host once, we host once, you host once. Grant does not cook. Grant owns a telephone. Lorna will do everything. Then you can talk to her about that. I am not leading a family labor committee. Paige smiled. Look at you. 3 houses means every 3 months for me. That is the idea. Once a month? Not every Sunday, just one Sunday. I stirred my coffee. What if someone can't make it? We reschedule if everyone wants to. Otherwise, we eat without turning it into abandonment. You have thought about this. I make project plans when anxious. I make food. Yes, we're expanding. I told Aaron the idea when he called that evening. I'll host first, he said. You don't have to prove anything. I know, I want to. Paige does not count as you hosting. She's involved. Involved is different from responsible. You realize this is exactly how you sound at work? I'm retired. I have to use it somewhere. He laughed. What are the rules? He asked. No assigned dishes unless someone volunteers. Whoever hosts plans and cleans. Guests arrive as guests. Can guests help? If asked directly? No guilt if they say no? No guilt. Can Grant critique tomato geometry? That is protected speech. He became quiet, and if it's bad, the food, the evening, then we try again another month. All right. He chose the second Sunday in February. The afternoon before, he called. I have one question, he said. Advice or listening? Technical advice. How long does a 5-pound roast take? What temperature? 350. About an hour and a half, but use the thermometer. I have one. Do you know where to put it? A pause. Apparently I have 2 questions. I explained. Before hanging up, he said, You don't need to come early. I wasn't planning to. Good. Do you want me to? No. Yes. No. He exhaled. I want you to come at 5 like everybody else. I'll be there. And Mom? Yes? Wear something you like. I glanced at the overnight bag sitting near my bedroom door, ready for a short trip with Ruth after the dinner. Why? No reason, he said. I just want a picture of all of us. My hand tightened slightly around the phone. A picture for what? For us, he said. But if you don't want one, we won't. I stood in my kitchen, looking at the yellow bowl on the table and Frank's photograph on the living room shelf. One picture, I said. No tribute, no tribute. And nobody stands behind the camera. I bought a timer. That answer stayed with me until the next evening, when I stood on Aaron's porch at exactly 5, holding nothing in my hands. The door opened before I knocked. Aaron wore a black apron over a blue shirt. A streak of flour crossed one sleeve, and his hair looked as if he had been running both hands through it. You're exactly on time. You told me 5. I thought you might come early anyway. I considered sitting in the car until 5:01. That would have been aggressive. He stepped aside. The house smelled like rosemary, roasted onions, and something slightly burned. Shoes on or off? I asked. On. Guests keep their shoes. Is that one of the rules? It is now. I handed him my coat. His eyes dropped to my empty hands, and I saw relief. I brought nothing, I said. You brought yourself. Don't make it sentimental this early. I've had a stressful afternoon. The dining table was set for 5. No place cards. Cloth napkins, but they had not been ironed or steamed. At the center stood a low glass bowl filled with oranges and greenery. "The centerpiece is the correct height," I said. "I measured sight lines. You mocked me for doing that." "I have matured." From the kitchen came a sharp electronic beeping. Aaron closed his eyes. "What is that?" "The thermometer." "Why does it sound angry?" "It has several alarms, and I don't know which one I set." I followed him to the kitchen, then stopped at the doorway. The counters were crowded but not disastrous. A roasting pan occupied the stove. A bowl of potatoes sat beside a cutting board. Green beans waited in a skillet. Flour dusted the floor near the refrigerator. Aaron silenced the thermometer. "Do you need help?" I asked. He looked at the roast. "I need information." "That is not the same question." He considered it. "Will you tell me whether this is ruined?" "Yes." He lifted the foil. The roast was very brown on top and very red where he had cut into it. "It's not ruined. It's raw. It is undercooked. That feels like a polite distinction. Put it back in at 375. Check it in 15 minutes. 375? You said 350. You called yesterday. I assumed it would be in the oven on time. It was in the oven on time. When did you take it out? 4:30. It's 5:05. I was letting it rest. For 35 minutes? The recipe said rest. It meant after cooking. He stared at me. "I'm going to put it back. Good choice. Do I cover it?" "Yes. Thank you." He slid the pan into the oven and shut the door. "Do you want me to do anything else?" I asked. "No." The answer came too quickly. He looked around the kitchen, fighting every instinct he had to accept rescue and every instinct I had to offer it. Then he pointed to a wooden bowl. "Actually, would you toss the salad?" "Yes." "That is a direct request." I noticed. "You can say no." "I know." I tossed the salad. The doorbell rang while Aaron was draining potatoes. Paige came downstairs, fastening an earring, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "He has used every pan we own. Growth is messy. It's also apparently sticky." Lorna and Grant arrived with a bottle of wine and a bouquet of tulips. Grant wore a sport coat over a sweater the color of mustard. Lorna handed Paige the flowers. "We were told not to bring food," she said. Grant tried to bring olives. "Olives are not food," Grant said. "They are hospitality. They are currently at home being hospitable to the refrigerator." Aaron took their coats. "Dinner may be late." Grant looked toward the kitchen. "How late?" The roast needed more time. "I suggested takeout," Paige said. "I'm cooking." "You are reheating," I said. Aaron pointed at me. "You're supposed to be supportive." I tossed the salad. Lorna linked her arm through mine and led me toward the living room. "Come sit before they assign you a second task." I volunteered. "Of course you did." We sat with wine while the roast finished. Aaron moved in and out of the kitchen, resisting suggestions. Grant offered to carve. Aaron said no. Lorna offered to mash the potatoes. He said no. Paige stood in the kitchen doorway and asked whether she could help in her own house. "You can light the candles," he said. "We don't own candles." I bought some. "Where?" He froze. We all watched him try to remember. "Top drawer beside the refrigerator," I said. 4 faces turned toward me. "What?" I asked. He showed me where he kept matches at Christmas. Paige found the candles in the drawer. Grant lit them and nearly set 1 cloth napkin on fire. Dinner reached the table at 5:52. The roast was cooked, the potatoes had cooled, the green beans were soft enough to fold, and the salad had absorbed too much dressing while we waited. It was one of the best meals I had eaten in years. Aaron sat at the head of the table, not because he had assigned himself the position, but because it was his house and his chair. Paige sat beside him. I sat across from Lorna with Grant at the other end. Aaron lifted his glass. "I didn't plan a speech." "Excellent," I said. "I knew you'd say that." He looked around the table. "Thank you for coming." "That was dangerously close to a speech," Grant said. We drank. For the first few minutes, conversation kept brushing against the importance of the evening. Lorna praised the potatoes too intensely. Paige asked me about Savannah twice. Aaron monitored my plate as if waiting for a restaurant review. Finally, Grant cut another piece of roast. Is anyone going to mention that this took nearly an hour longer than promised? Dad, Paige said. What? We all experienced it. It's fine, Aaron said. It is fine. That is my point. We waited and survived. Lorna looked at him. You complained every 6 minutes. I communicated. You stood outside the kitchen and asked whether beef can sense urgency. It was a scientific question. The tension broke. Aaron laughed. Paige leaned into his shoulder. Lorna told Grant he had been banned from monitoring future meals. He said he was comfortable with that outcome. I took another bite of roast. It's good, I told Aaron. Actually, it needed salt. He looked wounded. Then I smiled. He shook his head. That was cruel. You'll recover. Do I receive credit for not asking you to make anything? No, you receive dinner. That seems unfair. Credit is how we got into trouble. He nodded, accepting the answer. Later, conversation turned to the old photograph of Frank at the grill. Aaron had told Paige about our afternoon with the pictures. Grant wanted to know whether the suspenders had fallen into the food. Not that time, I said. There was another time? Paige asked. Your father leaned over a tray of deviled eggs one Easter. Aaron groaned. I had forgotten that. You ate 6. I was told the affected ones were removed. They were. Were they? Mostly. Lorna set down her fork. This family has very loose food safety standards. Frank believed heat killed everything, I said. Deviled eggs are cold, Paige said. His system was imperfect. Aaron was laughing so hard he had to wipe his eyes. The story did not become evidence of hardship. Nobody called Frank brave or me strong. It was simply a ridiculous thing that had happened in a backyard we could all admit was ours. After dinner, I stood and picked up my plate. Leave it, Aaron said. I can carry 1 plate. You're a guest. I am a guest with arms. Grant raised his glass. I made that argument at the anniversary dinner. And nobody was persuaded, Lorna said. Aaron gathered the plates. Mom, would you wrap the rest of the roast while I load the dishwasher? Yes, direct request, he said, still noticing. We worked beside each other for 10 minutes. Not silently, but without using every sentence to examine the relationship. He found the storage containers. I wrapped the meat. Paige brought glasses from the dining room. Lorna sat at the table and told Grant not to touch anything. When the kitchen was mostly restored, Aaron wiped the counter and looked around. I think that's it. There is flour under the refrigerator. It lives there now. We returned to the dining room. A small tripod stood on the sideboard. Aaron had not brought it out earlier. He looked at me before reaching for it. Picture? 1. If the first one's terrible, can we take a second? You negotiated one. Fine. He attached his phone to the tripod and adjusted the legs. Grant inspected it. I could hold the camera. Then you wouldn't be in the picture, Aaron said. I've been in enough pictures. That isn't how this works. Aaron moved the glass bowl from the center of the table. Paige stood behind 2 chairs, trying to decide where everyone should go. Mom and Dad together, she said. Linda, you sit beside Aaron. I started toward the end of the table. There's more room over here. Aaron pulled out the chair beside him. Mom. It was only my name. Not a demand, not a correction. An offered place. I sat. Lorna and Grant stood behind us. Paige came around to Aaron's other side. Aaron set the timer for 10 seconds and hurried toward his chair. 10 seconds is too fast, Lorna said. It's fine. You're not sitting yet, I'm aware. Grant tried to move behind Lorna. His jacket caught on the back of the chair. Stop pulling, she said. I'm not pulling. The chair has me. Paige began laughing. Aaron dropped into his seat just as the phone flashed. Everyone froze a second too late. Then we looked at one another. That was awful, Aaron said. Take another, Grant said. You're still caught, Lorna told him. I know. Aaron got up and went to the phone. The rest of us crowded around. In the photograph, Grant was halfway behind the chair with one hand raised. Lorna was turning toward him, her mouth open. Paige was laughing, eyes nearly closed. I was not looking at the camera. I was looking at Aaron as he dropped into the chair, and he was looking at me. Neither of us looked polished. The overhead light was too yellow. My hand was blurred because I had been reaching toward him. His shirt pulled crooked beneath his jacket. "We can do better," he said. "No," I said. "Keep that one." He enlarged the picture. "You're not facing forward. I'm there." He looked at me. "All right." Paige freed Grant's jacket. Lorna straightened the chair. Nobody reset the timer. Aaron sent the photograph to all of us before we left the table. Grant immediately complained that his raised hand made him look like he was asking permission to speak. Lorna said that would be a healthy development. Paige made the picture the background on her phone. I saved it without changing anything. When Lorna and Grant left, Aaron carried their coats to the door. Lorna kissed his cheek and told him the dinner was wonderful. Grant asked whether he could take some roast. "It needed salt," Aaron said. "That's why I want it." Paige packed a container for them. I put on my coat last. The new overnight bag waited at home, ready for the morning train. Ruth and I were spending 3 days in Washington, where she intended to visit every museum without reading the signs. Aaron held the door open. "Text me when you get home." "I will. And tomorrow, if you remember, send a picture from the train. You know what trains look like." "I know." He slipped his hands into his pockets. "Next month is the Bell's turn." Grant suggested a restaurant. That violates the hosting rule. Lorna says ordering takeout is hosting. She may be right. And then it's my turn. "You don't have to do as much as I did. I won't." He smiled. "I know you won't." The sentence could have sounded like criticism. It did not. I touched his cheek. "I had a good time tonight." "Even with the beans?" "The beans gave up, but they were present, like the rest of us." "Don't turn it into a speech." "Yes, ma'am." I walked down the porch steps. Behind me, he said my name. I turned. "I love you," he said. The words were not attached to a request, an apology, or a memory of something I had done for him. "I love you too." At home, I placed the yellow bowl in the center of my dining table. The 3 photograph boxes were back in the sideboard, not hidden, simply put away. My travel bag stood by the door with the red scarf Ruth had forgotten draped over one handle. Aaron's photograph waited on my phone. I opened it again. The picture would never have made it into the tribute he once wanted. The lighting was bad. The chairs were crooked. Lorna and Grant were caught in a small disagreement. Paige was laughing too hard to pose, and Aaron and I had failed to look at the camera. It showed exactly what had happened. I sent it to be printed. Then I turned off the dining room light, picked up my travel bag, and carried it upstairs.